Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the Simsport Racing International 2.4-hour Endurance League. We head to the fifth round, which is here at Barcelona. It is Catalonia for the penultimate round of the season. My name's Chris Buxton. I'll be one of your commentators throughout this evening's escapades. Joining me at the controls, glad to say, is Dominic Gieser. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very well, thank you kindly. Very much looking forward to this event. Steve Smash It Proudly in control of the cameras this time. So the very best iron production here at SSR, right? And very much looking forward to this. 30 cars are taking part in qualifying tonight. And looking at the results, it's been a very interesting championships thus far. After the first two rounds, you might be forgiven for the home team taking away all the silverware, getting the first two wins, but then have not reappeared since in the BMWs. So, yeah, we'll see who is able to come out on top this time at the Spanish beautiful circuit. Very, very testing, very, very twisty. From a spectator standpoint, it's not one I'm particularly familiar with. Well, sorry, not a particular fan of, I should say. But in sim racing terms, the race tends to be very, very hot indeed. Just waiting for the action to head trackside. Do we have... yeah, okay, straight to trackside indeed. Let's see who is doing well. Now, it's a mixture of GT3s and GT4s. We have out there, we have 8 GT4s out there, of which we are looking at Marek Krejci in the number 16 car. That is the this is a team that made me laugh earlier. The Scuderia Pepperoni Margarita squad, one of the two Alpines in the field. The 16 is one of them. The other is, where was the other one? Car number 521 is the other one. Scuderia Pepperoni Pepperoncino or something like that, which I can't pronounce properly. It's excellent stuff. Dominic, what are your thoughts towards Catalonia? Is this a track you like?
Yeah, not precisely. It's not best known for best racing action in a couple of series, but in sim racing it's a nice track to watch, but to drive it's not quite that much fun.
Not your taste. Absolutely fair enough. As we now switch to the lead of the GT4 category at the moment, that's Pulse number 777 in the Porsche Cayman, currently in the hands of Patrick Vanst, working his way through the first few turns. Now, the turns are named, apparently. I've never actually commentated them under corner names. I will be using corner numbers, as that's what I'm far more familiar with. Now, it is not the freshly resurfaced version of Catalonia. As you can see from the map, around about where turn 10 is, it's still the really sharp version rather than the more sweeping version, which is now the case in modern day Catalonia. So we switch to what is now third in the GT4s, as Krejci has, I think, just jumped up. Now, as the GT4s are out there first, that's why we're looking on GT4 field, because the GT3s aren't out there at the minute. So, sorry, the GT3s have had their sped in the sun. It's now the turn of the GT4s. So we're looking at Dennis Vackman in the number 11 car. That's the Model 11 Racing Porsche. So at the moment it's Porsche Alpine that take on the top 4 spots in the GT4 class, with the BMW and Mercedes, well, almost alternate pairs going through the field. Porsche Alpine, BMW, Mercedes. And that appeals to my sense of OCD. Do not change the order. I'll be very angry if you don't. In the box with us is a representative from SSRI, Dave Hedges. How are you, sir?
Evening, Chris. Evening, Dominic. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, sir. How's the car behaving itself?
Oh, I would know if I was driving, Chris, but tonight I'm with you all evening, so apologies for being a little bit late to comms, but looking like the weather's going to be nice for them this afternoon.
Absolutely. As we now jump down to Mark Ham in the Fast and Furious 2.0 number 208 car. That's one of the BMW M4 GT4s, just coming through the last few turns. Oops, that's not how you do. Yeah, that's not ideal. Still 3.5 minutes of qualifying to go. Jumping back to Dennis Vackman in the 11 car. Everyone else is on either in the pit or on a bit of a slower lap. Oh, and right on cue, Dennis is headed back to the pits. Nearly hits the wall himself on the way in. So I asked Dominic earlier, Dave. Catalonia, is it the track you like? Track you get on with? Track you can't stand? Where do you sit?
Quite like that track, to be honest. It's very testing. Obviously, you really have to attack a lot of the corners, which can bite you in certain cars, especially if you've got a pretty stiff suspension. But yeah, I get on quite well with it. It's a nice track, and normally the weather's good in Spain as well, so you don't normally have to worry too much about the rain.
True enough. This in slippery conditions is not a lot of fun, I imagine. As we look at Carl Van Horn in the 136 McLaren. Red Rocket Racing. So, yeah, the GT3s have already been out. It is the turn of the GT4s, but Dave, you could explain why we've got a couple of GT3s out there at the minute.
Yeah, so obviously the qualifying split into the two, as you've already said, but they give them 5 minutes at the end to do a driver swap, so they get prepared with the person that's going to be in the car for the start of the race. So that's why we're seeing some cars out on track at the moment, because it makes it easier to do the driver swap by doing a pit stop rather than using an unusual swap command, which sometimes works and sometimes messes the server up. So we instruct the drivers just to do one lap, go back into the pits and do the driver swap.
That makes absolute sense there. Dominic, what would be your car of choice if you were out there competing in tonight's event? What car would you go for?
It's quite difficult to say. I'm very familiar with the BMW M4 GT3, but I also I really like the McLaren GT3. I'm not sure which car I would take, but because I'm so familiar with the BMW, I would choose them.
Yeah, fair. What's your personal weapon of choice, Dave?
Well, usually my weapon of choice is the Audi. It just seems to have every facet that's quite good if you can actually really dial it in. And we've discussed before that it is one of those cars that is very on the edge all the time, a lot like most of the rear-engine cars or the mid-engine cars. But I think the Audi's just got that little bit of spark to it, which makes this track a lot of fun.
I'm a sucker for the McLaren myself. I've always enjoyed the McLaren GT3 machinery, although I don't mind the AMG. Although I'm not particularly, I'm not a regular in ACC, so it's one of these things. It is a path less trodden for me. But if I were to pick one, it would be the McLaren.
Yeah, the McLaren's a good car pretty much everywhere. It's got good turning in speed. Obviously being the mid-engine, but it really has to be driven hard and to get the best out of it. I think we've seen Robbie Stapleford doing exceptionally well in it, and he just seems to get that car dancing really. But yeah, it's a very difficult car. But obviously we've got Mullard in third in the McLaren at the moment, and Aston right at the top of the table. So looks like it's going to be a nice mixed field at the top of the table for sure.
I love that comment in chat there. Choose a car with more than 109-litre fuel tank. Yeah, well, you could try, I suppose, but that's the thing, isn't it? Make yourself known in chat. We'll happily have you along for the ride, of course. Glad to have you along. Who are you supporting? Who are you here to see do well? As we head to the grid. So yes, as Dave was saying, it is indeed Mike Abenhauser in the Treble 3 car in the Aston on the front row with one of the Ferraris. That's the 267 car, the Scuderia Della Gleba, which is a tricky one to say. Then it is Ben Mullard in the double 7 McLaren, along with the lead Porsche. Look at that, Aston, Ferrari, McLaren, Porsche in the top four. Then it is the 195 car, that's Alfa Simsport 4 in fifth, and then the 321 Aston of Team Abbey Racing on row 3. Then it is Valenduc and Van Drunen, the 43 McLaren and 69 BMW on row 4. Holzer in the number 60 Porsche alongside Pike in the number 13 Bentley, one of the few Bentleys in the series, take on row 5. Row 6 is Van Kooten in the number 8 McLaren. Then it's 3 Astons. From 12th to 14th, Van Cleef in the number 74. Then is Vervat in the 73 Aston, alongside Vesta in the 90 Aston Martin. Row 8 is Versoni in the 907 Audi. Then Sinshalva, I will trip over that a few times, in the number 97 car. Row 9 is Medema in the 136 McLaren, alongside John Beaton in the sole Jaguar in the field, the number 87 car. Row 10 is Vrins in the 213 Bentley, alongside Van Vorselen in the 21 Bentley. Row 11 is Menzies in the number 19 BMW, alongside Demon in the 46 McLaren. Then it's our GT4 contingent. There's the snakeskin Porsche, the 777 to the left. Then the 16, that's the Pepperoni Margarita car. Then it's the number 11, the Model 11 Porsche, right next to the 521 Alpine, the Pepperoni Peperoncino. I can't get that right when I try and say it quickly. Then it's the 208 Fast and Furious 2.0 BMW M4, alongside the number 47 car, the Racing Dudes Motorsport number 2 Mercedes AMG GT4. And I missed the last two. That was the 84 car at the tail end of the field. That is the Resistance BMW M4 GT4. And finally, it is the number 48 Mercedes. That's the Racing Dudes Motorsport 1 car. They're missing their McLaren, I think. Rounding out our field. Oh, yes, we should be in for quite an interesting race. And the sun is setting, Dave Hedges.
It is, yeah, just after 7 o'clock race starts, so going to be driving into the dark this evening, probably finishing around 9:30 by the time they get around to starting the lap, because it's going to be another 2 or 3 minutes before they get round to the start-finish line after leaving off on their formation lap. But yeah, it's not a track that's very well lit in the dark, I must admit. So spotting the turning in points, making the apexes is going to be tricky as the sun sort of dives down behind the trees. And I think it's sort of turn 2 and 3 where you really start to get the sun in your eyes. So that's going to be an interesting time of the night for him.
Beautiful. I was actually did a race yesterday and the sun got quite low, and in VR that is really quite a problem. So, Dominic, something I've said before is at this point in the race, just as you form the grid, is when the nerves are really jangling. Do you find that? Do you find you sometimes get a little bit nervous just as the race is starting its rolling lap?
Yeah, at the beginning of your career, you get really high nerves, and you think, "Oh my God, what will happen into 1, 2, 3, and so on." But with the time, you develop a strategy to get your nerves down, and I think we are driving on so high performance that all drivers can deal with their nerves and do.
What about you, Dave? Is this a point where you find the nerves get a bit jangly, or can you remain focused?
It normally depends on what time of the season it is. If it's getting towards the business end and something's at stake, then the nerves will always come to fore. But generally, I'm fairly well relaxed normally through the season. But it's there's always the jangly goes towards the end of the season. That's for sure.
Yeah, I get really nervous. I haven't got that knack you mentioned there, Dominic, of being able to keep nerves under control. I can't do it. I get very, very nervous at this stage. So, but we'll see how our drivers do. So we're just working the way through the rolling lap. Then the GT4's, of course, starting behind the GT3s. Although it does look like there's been a problem for the number 46. Oh, that would be the Racing Dudes McLaren I mentioned earlier. Of course, forgetting the fact that their McLaren, of course, is in GT3. So there's a bit of a problem for the 46. Are they scheduled for a pit lane start, or have they had an issue?
I think they've had an issue, maybe forgotten to press drive by the looks of things. So that's unfortunate. They're going to be starting from the pit lane, but it's going to make for an interesting first few laps as they catch up to the GT4s.
It sounds really daft, but it is actually really easy to do something like that when you're discussing taxes or what have you with your teammates, and suddenly you realise too late you haven't done a really, really simple thing. It's actually surprisingly easy to do.
Yeah, it is really easy. I've done it a couple of times. Thankfully, never in a championship. Although I have forgotten to change my race fuel, but that's very easy to do as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all these little things that we only do maybe once or twice and never again.
Indeed, I remember commentating on a endurance race at Daytona once, where the guy starting second, I think it was, absolutely took off, and then he was miles ahead of the field, and then his engine blew up because he hadn't got his radiator in. Which, same thing, he'd forgotten to switch from his qualifying to the race. And enough of that. Riding on board with Mike Abernhauser in the treble 3, ready to get this race underway. And the green lights, we are racing here in Barcelona. An endurance race it may well be, as someone's on the grass further back trying to get moves done, but you always want to try and get the one-upmanship going. Almost full way coming down into turn 1. Oh, dear,
crash.
punch in the face there from the Porsche. Yes, well spotted there, Dominic. That was the 29 Porsche, I think it is, the Alpha Simsport car. Got a bit of a tap there, but so far so good. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen the GT4 leaders mixing it with the tail end of the GT3s. It does look like everyone survived. Oh no, somebody has fallen to the tail end of the field, and someone has a drive-through penalty. So how do you jump the start at rolling start? Are they overtaking too quickly?
No,
It's either... Sorry, go ahead, Dominic.
No, I think they were too fast at the start of the race, so that he did not catch the 70 kilometers per hour and drive above that.
Fair point, well made. Riding on board with Andrea Curci of the 267 in the 267 car, the Scuderia della Gleba Ferrari. Again, I think it's the only Ferrari in the field. So a great effort for them to get a car kind of lesser used towards the sharper end of the field. So at the moment it's Aston from Ferrari, from Porsche, then 3 McLarens ready to do battle. You can see that at the top of the shot. Leading the way in the GT4, still the treble 7 of that's the Simsport Porsche that is leading the way. He's got actually ahead of a couple of the GT3s. The second place GT4, the Alpine, the number 16 car, the Margarita car. It's going to be easy for me to simply say that. Then Scuderia Pepperoni Margarita all night long. But Andrea Curci, we've seen him towards the sharper end of this field several times before. Yannick Valendijk, there he is in the 43 car, 5th position in the Rocket M Power McLaren. They've been second twice in this season. They didn't take part in Misano, and then a 5th place last time at Silverstone alongside. Can they do it? The number 77 is the car that's challenging, which is the 3rd of the Simsport of the Alpha Simsport cars, and they've done it. Yannick Valendijk up into 4th.
Nice and clean move by Yannick. Really well done.
That's a brave move indeed. Very nicely done. So top 3 look like they're beginning to stretch their legs a little bit, and that was Ben Mullard in the treble 7. It's the Alpha Simsport 3 McLaren now having an argument coming through turn 4. Still having an argument. That's Holzer in the 60 Porsche as well. So a couple of the Alpha Simsport cars really in there, mixing it with the McLarens, riding on board with Christoph Holzer. So up into 6th position now. So he's managed to get past the 195 cars. That's the another one of the Alpha Simsport squad. They've got 4 cars registered in the series. I'm not sure if all 4 of them are here tonight, but the Porsche now up into 6th position. The tower will update itself on the next timing check. And there's a McLaren defending it. No, he's having an argument with the Porsche. And then the BMW was very nicely done. The 69 car, the CBSR BMW, nips through on the inside. So an attack from, that was Mullard. Yes, the 777 Alpha Simsport McLaren's lost another place.
Yeah, I think he just, Mullard just put his car in the wrong position there, and Van Drunen just took advantage up the inside. Excellent move. You've got to just be wits about you. You're just waiting for someone to make a mistake, because these cars are very well matched along this track for sure.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's very easy to kind of get carried away with trying to make positions so early in a 2.4-hour race. And replay of the start then. So again, lots of battling going on. 3 wide going into turn 1. That's where the Porsche got a bit of a tap on the nose. And then, and there you go. Trouble in the middle of the field. I did think so. Oh, don't wander onto the field like that. which has then caused a bit of a skittle effect, but no major impact, which was a very, very surprising considering how close that all got. Struth.
Yeah, it's all about nerves there, isn't it? You want to make the best start, you get up the inside, get a tap, and you really want to get back on track as quickly as possible. But you've got to be so careful when coming back onto the track, especially at this track. That first corner is deadly for coming back on track at the wrong time.
Completely, as we look at Aaron Van Drunen in the 69 CBSR BMW. We saw him making a move with, well, having an argument with Ben Mullard earlier on. Now looking at Christoph Holzer in the number 60 Porsche straight ahead. Now people starting to settle into their rhythms a bit. As you can see on the map, the grey dots are the GT3s, the blues are the GT4s. As the race will continue, what has happened to Mr. De Kaiser? Oh, that's a bit rude. That's our Rick. Yeah, that was our GT4 leader getting a bit of a shove in the tail.
Yeah, was that a GT3 coming up behind him? I think that might have been. Looked like it's very quick. The closure of that car was very quick. Just probably surprised him how early he had to brake. But you've obviously got to be careful in the GT3s when you're around GT4s because they just don't handle the same. Obviously, the speed closure is very, very different because the aero is a lot different. So, yeah, I suspect there might be a penalty incoming for that one.
Yeah, that's a shame. When the field is that kind of condensed, it is very easy, especially if you've had a bad start and you're then mixed up with the slower class. It does kind of get a little bit, could get a little bit frustrating. But if you take your eye off the ball, that sadly can happen. So Dominic, you were saying earlier that your weapon of choice is in the GT4 class. If you're in that position where you're towards the front or leading the GT4 class and you've got a GT3 behind, how much kind of focus do you put on the faster car? Before we go through that, it's the number 8 McLaren. Trying to get a switch back there. So that's the double Dutch McLaren trying to get a switch back for that would have been, well, that's he's towards the tail end. That's de Klerk. Towards the tail end of the GT3. So it wasn't the McLaren that bounced off of the 777 Porsche. But yeah, they're trying to make a move then on. It looked like you were trying to make a move on a Porsche there, but I couldn't quite tell from that angle. So yeah, Dominic. So if you're in the sort of GT4 class, you've got a GT3 behind you. How much kind of effort do you spend looking at the GT3 car, or do you just focus purely on your own line?
I've split my focus. I would say 50% on the GT3 and 50% on my race. So I would race to a point on the track where I can let the GT3 pass to get not in trouble, but also not to lose so much time.
Fair answer. As we look at Jitsi Medina in the 136 Castrol favoured McLaren. I've always been a fan of that livery. I love the look of that car. That's the Red Rocket McLaren. That's such a good looking car. He's having an argument with the 321 Aston Martin. That's the Team Abbey, one of the Team Abbey cars. That's working their way through turn 3. Looking at 15th position at the moment. Field now settling into their rhythm, although still with plenty of company for everybody to deal with. So yeah, Dave, similar question to you. You're in if you're in the quicker category, and you're in that kind of position where you're trying to get past a slower car in a point where, particularly where we saw that incident happen, like those final chicanes, it is quite easy to just slightly misjudge your braking point, especially with the speed difference between these two classes.
It is, yes, but you've got to be responsible as a driver. You've got a long race, 2.25 hours pretty much left. You can't be throwing one up the inside of a GT4 because you really just don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, everyone is instructed to stay online as their main course in terms of the slower cars. But you always find that even though they're instructed, they might just move out of the way unexpectedly or go really deep into the corner, and then you really don't know what they're going to do. So it's very difficult as the faster car for sure, but it's just best to hang back, and everybody gets the same treatment really generally. Obviously if people become too aggressive, then they end up getting penalties. So we just got to make maybe quite. And there's a message from race control: 15-second penalty for car 73 for causing a collision on car 777 on lap 1. So there we go. It's a 15-second penalty there for Van der Voort, and you can see it up on the screen there, who's currently in P20. So that's going to be putting that car back to probably the last position in the GT3 class.
It was fairly inevitable, wasn't it? A shame, but exactly as you say, Dave, you still got to keep your wits about you on how you're driving, especially around the slower cars. As we switch to the number 13, that's Simon Pike in one of the Bentleys. He's actually chasing John Beaton in the Beaton Racing number 87 Jaguar, the sole Jag in the field, right behind. Or position-wise behind one of the Astons. Oh, that's Dennis Verkman, get the right syllables out in the right order, in the number 11 Porsche, going along the inside line. So that's in the GT4 category, so that's for third in the GT3 class, getting ahead of the 521 Alpine. That's the Pepperoncino car. Why do you give me so many syllables to deal with in a hurry? Why, oh, why, oh, why? There's Simon Pike in the Bentley that we were just looking at, keeping Van Cleef in the number 74 Aston Martin. That's the sister car to the one that's got the penalty on the board now, currently being driven by Van der Voort. Now, Simon will be joining us a bit later on in the box to have a little chat with us. Oh, the Jaguar's got that all wrong, going around the outside. That completely put me off. Thank you very much, Mr. Proudly. But that was one moment of oversteer has put the Jaguar in all kinds of trouble. Simon Pike then is going to be on the outside line. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes here as the Jaguar is trying to fend off what must feel like the entire world. He's keeping the Bentley company. The Aston's managed to keep behind, but no, that's Pike then has managed to work his way through. And is the Aston going to follow? Oh, John Beaton. No, he got a bit of a tap on the nose there, and that's forced him onto the infield. That was just a tiny, tiny impact between the two. And that's going to drop John Beaton down quite a few positions there. That's a great shame.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like the way you want to overtake another driver, to take it out by yourself.
No, indeed. But sometimes in the heat of battle, it is very difficult to avoid those incidents. As we look at John McDonnell in the 521 Alpine, as mentioned, I'm not going to keep. I'm going to call you the pepperoni car because I can say that properly in a hurry. Yep, I'll chicken out that one. I'll take that one. Chasing Dennis Verkman in the 11 Porsche and keeping Van der Voort in the 47 Mercedes behind. Yes, I do love that. The GT4 Mercedes I do quite like. If I was to choose a GT4 machinery, as that's Lars Van Cleef on the inside line of Venerosi in the 907 Audi. Audi's had to go wide to avoid incident. That's quite elbows out, but that's 12th position now in the hands of the number 74 car.
Yeah, it was really clean, wasn't it? Nice move there, just to get up the inside, and took advantage of maybe just the Audi just running a tiny bit wide, but made it count, and very clean driving from both of them.
Now we do have a lovely mixture and representation of the marques available. So, Aston, Porsche, BMW, McLaren, etc., etc. Does any one car have a particular advantage here, Dave?
I think from memory, the Porsche's always been very good here. Porsche's strength is out of the corners. There's a few high speed stuff, but it makes good out of the slower stuff. So it tends to be quite well balanced here. So it can be a bit tricky at places like Spa, but here obviously it's nice flat track. It's not too undulating. I think the Porsche's normally pretty quick. The BMW M4 has just been very good since it's been released, and it's so easy to drive as a GT3 and extract some reasonable pace out of it. So although I think we just finished our GT3 rounds our season this week, and the top 3 cars are all BMWs, so it just goes to show how good it was. And the BOP is pretty much balanced out now, but it's still a very, very easy car for people to drive.
As we look at the number 8, the double Dutch McLaren, currently in the hands of Mira de Klerk, chasing after the number 19 BMW. Very defensive line there from the. This name also made me chuckle. The the F1-idiots, or F-idiots, however you pronounce it as you will. Number 19 BMW, it looks like they've had to relinquish that particular position. It looked like they were kind of out of sorts coming through turn 6 and 7, and then lost that before they get to turn 9. But look at Veronese, very much under pressure in the 907 Audi from Vrindt in the 213 Bentley. That's the Fabot Racing Bentley GT3. As you can see, the big old boat staring at the tail end of the Audi. So Veronese, having lost that position to the 74 car last lap, is now doing his best to fend off the advances of the grounding Bentley, along with the Castrol livery McLaren we mentioned earlier. Then you've got the Jaguar and Aston Martin continuing their fight for 16th position. Oh, the Bentley getting a bit squiggly, not liking the dirty air, but I mean, we all say it's a big thing. It is, but it's actually they all weigh within a few kilograms or whatever, so it's not kind of size disadvantage, maybe a little bit harder to overtake at narrower tracks, but the Bentley is still a worthwhile machine as the Audi's gone a little bit too deep, coming down towards turn 5. Can Van der Vrindt get that one through? You have the inside line for 6 and 7, getting a bit squiggly on the braking. The Audi then could nick back through into 13th place. Veronese does indeed defend in the 907 Audi. Nicely done.
Yeah, it's excellent. Veronese looks like he's struggling with his rear tyres. The Audi does seem to... Oh, he's hit the Bentley and he's gone off.
What was that?
Very good. Well, that's probably what Wouter said.
He probably did, yeah. Now look at that's going to be a hard hit. I'll be surprised if he's able to drive straight back to the pits there. He might have to pull back to the pits, although he's got going. But yeah, that's going to be... I think that's going to be really difficult for him to get back to the pits quickly.
That was almost a before and after there, Mr. Proudly, is when the camera cut to the 21 Bentley, they were in a very similar livery colours. So it was almost like, this is how it is now, this is how it was before. So, yeah, that was a very sudden snap, wasn't it, from Wouter Vrindt there in the 213 Bentley. Let's have a look at it again. So, gets a good run out of turn 9. So the McLaren has a storming run, goes through the gap. Oh, I see. So that was just a tiny nudge then from the Audi that pushed the McLaren, bit of a Newton's cradle effect into the Bentley, and the Bentley then introduced itself rather hard into the wall. So yeah, that's going to be a long time that Bentley is going to be in the pits for.
Yeah, the Audi just looked like he took a tiny little jink to the right there, maybe to put a bit of pressure on the McLaren because it had running up quickly, and hopefully that wasn't as perhaps on purpose as it may have looked initially. But that was unfortunate. But it was looking like a really good battle. Oh, the leader's running wide.
Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah. Yes, that's the treble 3 Aston. Yeah, well spotted. So that's Kirchi in the 267 Ferrari. The Scuderia della Gleba car now has the lead, so a small mistake there from Mike Abernhauser. Wow, that's a very rare sentence to say, mistake and Mike Abernhauser. Goodness me, but yeah, Yannick Valenduk has had that fastest lap has changed hands a few times, but Valenduk's had it now for a little while, so he could be well pressing on, but an unforced error from Mike Abernhauser's truth.
Yeah, it's really difficult. That corner. I think it's turn 12 or 13, isn't it? Just at the top of the hill into the chicane. If you catch the inside curve a bit too hard, it can just unsettle the car and send you across the track and into the dirty stuff. And then you've basically got no chance of keeping the spin away. A bit like we saw last weekend with Charles Leclerc in qualifying. It's a very difficult set of corners to make sure you stay on the track, and here he is, just getting past the GT4s. So he's coming in. Oh, he's actually run wide on actually turn 10, isn't it? So he's just literally gone too late into the braking zone and just made himself get the loss of place with Abernhauser now into P2 with is it Kirchi in P1?
Yeah, it's indeed Kirchi in the 267 car. We've been joined in the box by a couple of interlopers, guests, in the form of Simon Pike and Chris Hill. Simon!
Hello!
Talk us through how the race has gone so far. I know we're not particularly far into it, but how's it going?
A little bit back and I've come a little bit forward.
Fair. Now, we will say that Simon is actually driving whilst talking to us. So fair play, Simon, for actually taking the time to do that. We very much appreciate it. We won't distract you too much. But I do have to ask, now, who gave you that avatar? Did you do that, or is that the work of Mr. Proud?
Well, it's actually a picture of me.
Oh, it's a real-life representation.
Yeah. When I haven't got my helmet on.
Fair.
You look sexy.
So, how long are you in the car for? When are you handing it over?
When my fuel runs out. If we're going to have to do an extra stop. It's touch and go. I think we will have to do another stop. So I might leave that to Mr. Hill to do that.
Of course.
Oh my lord.
Since I've done everything else.
First time you've done any work.
Excellent. Chris, was there a kind of particular strategy? Of course you would have the opposite number of the avatar. I should have thought about that, actually. Was there a particular strategy coming into the race, or is it just kind of get out there and see how the cards fall?
It's exactly as you just said then, Chris. No strategy whatsoever. Let's see what happens. Run till the fuel runs out, and just have as much fun as we can tonight.
Why break the habit of a lifetime, eh?
Absolutely.
So, how long are you? Was it 2 stints each? Is that what you're thinking of?
I'm thinking that if I do one and then Chris might have to split his last one. Just go as far as he can and then do a splash and dash at the end. Unless we get lucky or I've miscalculated the fuel, in which case, happy days.
So you want me to run to the toilet during my stint? Did I understand that correctly?
Well, you don't normally run to the toilet, you usually do it in your seat.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Moving on. Gentlemen, best of luck out there, and we look forward to catching up with you a bit later on. That's,
Thank you very much.
Chris Hill and Simon Pike.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Entertaining us, drivers of the number 13 Dynamic Motorsport Bentley. We should have seen that coming, gent, shouldn't we?
I almost was expecting Waldorf to be sat on Statler's shoulders all the way through the race, just talking to him, whispering in his ear.
Excellent stuff. Klaus Vester in the number 90 car, so that's the Team Rocket Ringmeisters Aston Martin, with a face absolutely full of the number 97 Aston Martin. That's the Vanilla Motorsports car, dancing their way round. That's one of the Mercedes GT4s, as Klaus gets very, very close, or looked very close from that particular camera angle. Oh, what's happened to them? Oh, so that's the Castro livery McLaren going a bit wide. Oh dear, cutting back into the racing line with the car already in it. Oh dear, that might be a bit of a penalty to the 71, I'd have thought. I'm not a steward, but I was a bit brutish from the Castro McLaren there.
It did look like he gave him enough room, coming back onto the track. I think you might be right there. It's unfortunate. Obviously, what you're going to be doing is trying to cut across the track, and the car going round that corner is only going to understeer towards you as well. So when you're coming back on track, you've really got to appreciate what the other cars could be doing on track, not just expecting that they're going to give you racing room.
Indeed. Abranoza is losing a bit of time to the 267 Ferrari. Oh well, the lesser chosen car, the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, currently in the hands of Kelechi, and right behind him is Yannick Vanadin. Now Yannick's been closing that gap down. That was a couple of seconds last time we saw them. So we do have a top 3 battle still en route. Oh, as Klaus Vester then goes for a almost late move on the outside line. I think that was actually an early break there from Dalma in the number 97 car. Still having an argument side by side, coming through turn 2 and 3. Now through the long turn 4 is Klaus Vester, who does look like he's got the pace advantage as they now come up to the GT4 leader in the 777 car as De Kaiser, if I can pronounce that correctly. I'm sure I struggled with his name last time as well. Now who's going to play chicken with the Porsche? Oh, that's a big move from Vesta. Tries to go on the inside line. Coming through turn 5. Oh, and the tails let him down. Flash. Yeah, I'm not surprised the guy that didn't like that one too much. It was that would have been quite scary for the GT4 leader.
Yeah, but quite in a higher class, you love to take the strategy component of a slower car to get an overtake done, and I think that was the Class Vester's plan, but not going quite well.
Oh, and again, outside of turn 10 is a very, very hard maneuver to get right. He wants the inside for 12, which he's now got, but he's a little bit behind Dalma in the 97 car, but that's going to give him the inside line for 13 to come through that final complex. Is that finally going to be 9th position to Class Vesta? Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, me of little faith. Then a punch in the face for Class Vesta as Dalma just goes a little bit deep on the race, still not giving up on it. Like a dog with a toy, he's not letting it go. Class Vesta has realistically got the position, but fair play to Dalma, not letting it go. Now going to slot into the slipstream behind Class Vesta. That is 9th position to the Rockets Ringmeister Aston Martin.
What a brilliant fight! So, I love to see it.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly love to see it when it doesn't end up with cars spinning off into the dust. But I would think now that Class Vesta is probably then going to start to run off into the distance. It does look like that number 90 Aston has had the pace difference, or certainly pace advantage, over his compatriots as we now look at the lead of the 2 Alpines, which is John McDonald in the 521 car. It does say Alpine Esports Series on the team name there. That's linked to the car, but that's the pepperoni car, as they've got that's one of the GT3 Astons just coming past. Oh, blimey, that's the Alpines having an argument for the 24th overall, but 4th in class. They were up towards the sharper end earlier on, so the Alpines have fallen off a little bit. So trying to keep fellow Alpine, well, the other one, the Margarita car. So the pizza pair, I'm going to call them at this point. Now with the minty green McLaren coming up behind them, so McLaren shouldn't be bested too much. Although coming through turn 9, that's not an ideal place to be trying to overtake slower cars. That's the thing with kind of multi-class racing. You're always going to have kind of clumps of cars like this. Oh wow! As we now jump to Yissi Medema in the Castrol flavoured McLaren, the Red Rockets Racing number 136 car, chasing Simon Pike, who we've just been talking to. Oh, a little bit deep in the number 13 Bentley. Keeps it going and keeps the McLaren behind him for now. Is Medema going to have a go down turn 1? We will see. As already half an hour into the race.
Yeah, it looks like he's got the run, but the Bentley's actually quite quick in a straight line. So he's going to have to be quite a lot closer to that than that to actually get enough of a draft on Simon to actually get past. Where Simon runs a little bit wide, so if the McLaren, he's out on the dirty stuff here, out on the marbles, and the McLaren could actually have the inside line for turn 4. He's just fed in behind, so Simon's managed to get on the power early. That's might be why he's sort of drifted out wide a little bit. Managed to keep it on the track, so not too bad there. And here we are. P19, the battle here, Van der Voort with Gordon, and it looks like he's going to have the inside line and make that stick. Yeah, good move. Oh no, well yeah, the BMW looked like he was going to fight back, but he's thought better of it, lived to fight another day. Here we go there, so Yitzi Medema, again, still battling with Simon Pike. This is up into turn 9 and he's looking closer, so this on F1 track would obviously be the second DRS zone usually, but he's again, the Bentley's just had great drive out of that corner, so he's managed to keep the place and up to the lead. So Abranosa now has got back and on terms with Kirchie, and he's putting the pressure on with Valenduk, only 1.5 seconds behind. So Valenduk has pretty much been dropped a little bit. He was sort of getting close to Abranosa, but Abranosa's had some pretty stellar laps there. So wondering if the other guys their tyres are starting to wear a little bit. So let's see how Abranosa gets on. Dominic, what sort of, what are you thinking of, when you're coming up to the back of people like this, especially when you're fighting for the lead? What sort of process are you going through, to try and strategize how you're going to get past?
So now I am at a point where I get really nervous because it's the lead and you want the lead, but you don't want to crash, and you get into a tunnel and you did not get recognized any other introductions from your teammate or from other people. So when you do a mistake, you do a mistake, and it's quite easily to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously we see still Abranoza still only 0.48 seconds behind Kirchi, so he's really going to be pushing him. It looked like he was having a little bit of flash, or it might be in the sunlight just on the back of the Ferrari there. The Ferrari's got a great drive out the last corner there and out the chicane, so it looks like Abranoza's not going to have any chance of actually getting closer to the Ferrari. It looks like actually the Ferrari's pulling away, so excellent drive out in the last corner there. So as you can see on screen, it's very difficult to actually get any sort of draft from so far back. You've got to be really close to actually get the advantage. Great split screen there from Mr. Brownlee. So just seen Valenduk there on the back of Abranoza, and they are now only still 1.6 seconds behind. So he's not lost any time, but also not gained any. So Valenduk will really want to be trying to push to try and get on to terms with this battle up front to make hay if anybody makes a mistake, for sure.
It's surprising Ferrari hasn't been able to run off into the distance unless Kirchi's just minding his own business, not pushing too hard too early. As they're now catching up to, that's one of the Alpines. That's one of the Alpines we saw having a great old battle earlier on. I think that's the pepperoni one. They could have at least made it kind of orange. Pepperoni's a orangey brownish colour. It's not blue. If your pepperoni's blue, you don't eat it. There's Mike Abranoza right under the tail then of Kirchi in the Ferrari. As that's caught Yannick Valenduk out in the 43 McLaren, just getting caught out behind the Alpine, coming through turn 12. He's now gotten past it, but that's cost him good 1 to 1.5 seconds, I would think, and that's going to put him into the clutches of James Mead in the 29 Porsche, the Alpha Simsport Porsche. Looks like it's going to do battle with Yannick.
So Mark Abranoza is still really putting maximum pressure on, and as you can see, he's taking the absolute widest line you can go onto that corner. Sometimes getting on the AstroTurf can be a bit hairy. It's not too bad into turn 1 on Barcelona, so they're really maximising the speed into turn 1 and turn 2. So that might be where he's just about getting onto terms. Maybe again, as you can see, they're just running a lot wider than Kirchi. I mean, Kirchi's leaving some time on the table there with taking that tighter line. Maybe he's just thinking, do I need to defend here? But just seeing how close they are, I don't think Abranoza is really the sort of driver that's really going to launch one up the inside. But maybe he's just got he's in two minds as whether to take the wider line or take a defensive stance.
At this point of the race, you're settled into the rhythm. You know who you're realistically in the battle with. Mike Abranoza has obviously led the race for a while, as you can see. One of the GT4 BMWs, just at the bottom of the shot there. Is it the 84? Yes, I think that's the Resistance number 84 car we've just seen going through the shot. Abranoza getting close again, but not looking like he's trying to challenge. So we're not seeing him jinking out from the slipstream. We're not seeing big, bold moves on the braking yet. He might just be, just kind of minding his own business now with Yannick Valenduk off his tail. I'm just going to stay there, maybe save a little bit of fuel. I mean, Dominic, do you save much fuel being this close to a car ahead of you, or does it actually make things more difficult for you?
No, when I race, I don't save any fuel. I go full throttle. I want the maximum out of my stint and do my job.
Good man. Yes, can't argue with that. What about you, Dave? Do you look at the fuel gauge? Do you keep an eye on that, or is it right foot as heavy as you can make it?
It depends, on certainly on the longer endurance races, fuel use and time in the car is very important. So obviously, as a team, you work on that and strategize through the race, because especially on things like 12-hour races, then you can actually make up enough time to save a pit stop if you eke out your driving time and eke out your fuel, especially where you've got cars like the Mercedes. It always historically was very hard on its fuel, and would struggle to do sort of an hour and 10 minutes really. So the likes of the Bentley, obviously bigger fuel tank can go longer, which tends to be why you see sort of maximum stint times on a lot of the big endurance races. So just to sort of take the Bentley's fuel tank out of the equation.
I wouldn't take the Bentley's fuel tank out. The Bentley might be a bit annoyed by that. But this is third place in the GT4s. And actually, the 47 Mercedes has worked its way quite nicely up through the field. The Porsches seem to have checked out up front. The 777, the pole start, GT4 pole starting car is, seemingly away in the distance. Actually, the front two Porsches are quite a long way away. You can see on the timing then. So just under 3 seconds between the lead Porsches, and then 11.3 seconds back to the 47 Mercedes. But bearing in mind the Mercedes started near the back of the GT4 class. That's a pretty impressive performance then from the number 47. That's the Racing Dudes second squad. The one and two cars are the GT4 Mercedes. The third one is the McLaren that either didn't start or started from the pit lane. The number 46 car, as we look at James Mead in the Maniac Refuel number 29, or Alpha Simsport as they are actually on my sheet, but seem to be renamed to Maniac Refueled. I don't think that's a reflection of his driving at all, as we see Marek Krajcik in the 16 car. That's the lead of the Alpine, still trying to overhaul the Mercedes. Now they are fighting and losing ground against the two lead Porsches, but again, question for you here, Dominic. Oh wow, as we see Krajcik could possibly go a bit too deep into turn 9 there. So at this stage in the race, so we're not even the quarter of the way through, you're into your rhythm, you've got someone right on your tail. What would your thought be? Would you let them go, just concentrate on your own race, or would you fight to defend your position?
It depends how fast he's behind me. When I see he is really much faster than I am, then I think I would let him pass to get into my rhythm bag and to do my race. So, but what I see there, I think the Porsche isn't that much faster, so at his point of view, I would fight.
What about you, Dave?
I think
I cut you off.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I cut you off there, Dominic?
Yeah. What we have there, it's for the podium in this class, so it's not another point which you need to see earned. So when it's for the podium, you will fight. You want this podium.
Yeah, fair point, well made. Sorry, back to you now, Dave. What was your thought on that?
Yeah, I'd be the same. Obviously it's for a podium position. You're fighting for that. At the end of the day, it's a race. It's not a let people past. If it is really slowing you down, and there's no way eventually that you're going to see that you're going to be able to stay ahead, as obviously they're still battling, and the other Alpine behind is now closing in, so it's going to become a three-way fight. And in reality, just let the person pass, get on with your race, and hopefully your teammate is a quicker person than the other person's teammate. As we see the GT3 there just squeezing through. That's a brave move into turn 7 and 8.
That's race leader. That's our leading Ferrari. And what he's done, that's a brilliant move at a brilliant time. And he's boxed in Vandenberg in the second place Aston. Oh my goodness me, that was a bold move. But look at the breathing space it's given him, and right behind. Oh, what is going on there? That's a Mercedes defending against a McLaren. What on earth?
This is what I mean. This is what I mean with the strategic components with the short class.
Yeah, completely. Yannick Vandenberg was Abenhauser was the one that really lost out there. Oh no! Vandenberg comes into contact with the 47 Mercedes. Whoa, nearly takes one of the Porsches with him. There's the second of the Alpines. Oh, Vandenberg. So that's James Mead of the 29 Porsche that's now gone through into third position with that impact with Vandenberg. But Vandenberg was cut off, or what looked like he was cut off by that 47 Mercedes. That's the Racing Dudes Motorsport car. That was the question. Well, there we go. That's an official warning for the Red Rocket McLaren for collision with number 19. That was the F1 idiots, or F idiots, again, BMW earlier on. But this incident that Vandenberg's just been involved in, I'm sure will be looked at as well as, the McLaren then just has to try and get past the Alpine in the midst of turn 4. Goodness me, but that's putting right on the back of James Mead. Never a dull moment. They do realise it's an endurance race, don't they?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm struggling to work out what the Mercedes was actually trying to do there. It's just, battling far too hard against the GT3. More than one GT3 as well, and that was squarely at the door of the Mercedes there, number 74 Mercedes, I think it was.
I would have to agree with that. Well, unless he either was made a mistake or something like that, but it did look like he made a very big block on Vandenberg, which it's the McLaren's not exactly an easily mistakable car. Yes, okay, he's in the BMW M Sport colours, but even still, that nose is pretty distinct. So you'd know that was a GT3 coming up behind him. So quite what was going on there with the Mercedes, we don't know. Obviously, we aren't involved with the scene, but that has really changed the face of this, what is now the battle for third, now in the hands of James Mead in the 29 Alpha Simsport / Maniac refueled Porsche. Coming through the final turn, Yannick Vandenberg trying to recover lost time. On board then, now this is on board with this is the 321 car. So this is the Team Abbey Racing Aston. And that is, oh dear, that's a big punch to the face. That wasn't the incident we were looking at earlier. That was a huge impact for the Aston Martin. That's oh dear, that's going to be painful.
Yeah, that's going to be another one of those situations where you're going to be struggling to get back to the pits, I think. And for the Mercedes as well, just looked like he didn't hold his brakes when he spun, which is cardinal sin. Hold your brakes, you tend to go towards the direction of travel rather than coming back onto the track. So it's not ideal doing that. So again, I suspect the Mercedes maybe either struggling to come back up on track. I'm actually not seeing the Mercedes on the track map at all, actually, so I don't know if they've already gone back to pits.
So this is Vandenberg with his incident. So this is coming through. That's coming through. Where are we? I think I'm coming to the end of that. Oh, there we go. Yes, so that was where the Mercedes tapped the tail. And then, unfortunately, Vandenberg just got into the back of the Porsche, but the Porsche came off okay there. And then the second Alpine just didn't fancy being part of that. And Abenhauser is now back on Curtis' case again. So the battle for the leaders resumed. Abenhauser has found a bit more weight in his right foot and closed the gap down between the Ferrari and the Aston Martin. I'd be curious to revisit the kind of blocking incident as well between Vandenberg and the Mercedes. To see kind of what the Mercedes was up to, but that was what caused the spin, or half spin for Vandenberg.
Yeah, Mercedes had been passed by Vandenberg. He was well ahead and looked like he just broke too late, and then just it was just a domino effect, wasn't it? Vandenberg went round. Luckily, a couple of cars went round him, but Mead just got a little tap, which isn't going to be great for the Porsche, but at least they're still running closely together. So although not much harm done, it's still given us a race, so nobody taken out, thankfully. And here we have a 10-second time penalty for car 11 for causing a collision with car 16 on lap 11. So that is one of the GT4s. So I think they're both GT4s, aren't they, those cars?
They are. That's Vetman in the number 11 model 11 racing Porsche, having an impact with the number 16 Alpine. That's the Margarita pizza flavoured Alpine. So I think that at the moment that wouldn't make a difference. As you see on the tower, there's 18, nearly 19 seconds between those two, between second and third in the GT4s. At the moment, that penalty won't make a difference. There's still a long way to go. 1 hour 40 remaining of the 2 hours 24 minutes, or 2.4 hours here at Barcelona. We see a continued battle for the lead between Kaji and Abernhauser, and the 267 and 333 cars respectively. A few people have come into the pits as well, I noticed. The number 60 car, Christoph Holzer, back out on the field in the Alpha Simsport 2, or Maniac Refueled, as they now seem to be referring to themselves as. On board then with the second place Aston. The fastest lap still with Yannick Van Dijk, although fastest lap isn't particularly crucial in more endurance kind of races, but it's still something you kind of like to get hold of. It still looks like, I mean, Abernhauser closes in but doesn't seem to then put himself in a position to challenge for the lead. Is it just a mind game at this stage?
Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, just looking at their lap times, they're all between 2 and, well, we're at 1 and 2 seconds slower at the moment. So, they're coming up towards the end of their stints. The tyres are going to be really hurting probably now, especially with the fairly warm temperatures at the start of the race, and also you may find that the tyre pressures are falling off as well because of the temperature. So, they've got to get it right. They had to have a reasonable set up in terms of where they were going to sit their tyre pressures when they started the race. Some of them may have decided to go better at the start rather than at the end of the stint. But obviously, as it gets colder after their pit stop, that's probably where it's going to be set a bit more settled down, because the temperatures whilst they drop fairly quickly, they then do settle down quite quickly as well.
Flash of the lights there from Kaji in the 267 Ferrari to the back markers. I think that is the number 19 BMW. Yes, that's the 19 BMW in 19th position, chasing Van der Verte in the 73 Aston. The BMW's gotten very much out of it. Absolutely fine. Now, if you're coming up to lap someone in the same class, you will be under blue flag conditions, and that's really going to disrupt the momentum of the Aston Martin. But very nicely done from Van der Verte there to allow the leaders through. Now, if you're under blue flag conditions because of someone in your own class, you do have to get out of the way, and you have to show that you're getting out of the way in a safe and timely manner. If it's a different class, the slower class is not obliged and indeed discouraged from jumping out of the way. It's been seen multiple times where the slower class tries to get out of the way of the faster class coming towards them, whereas in actual fact what they could be doing is creating a danger, as the faster class plans their move long enough in advance to conclude the move. They planned it in their head well before they've executed it. But Dominic, when you've got a faster class coming behind you, now we was talking about this earlier, how much kind of attention do you put on the faster class coming up behind you? Again, you've got to keep half an eye on those kind of parts. You can't just jump into their way. But your main focus is still on your own eyes. When we hit darkness hours, and obviously you can see that the headlights now begin to reflect much more off the road, how much more difficult does that become in the dark?
I think not much more difficult. Because it's still a race, and you see in your mirrors the lights of the faster car, and your teammate will say, keep attention behind you, there's a faster car approaching. And then it's quite easy, like in the light, to fight or let them faster car pass.
That's fair enough. Dominic makes a good point there, Dave, of the importance of a team dynamic. Yes, you've got multiple drivers, but you do all need to work together throughout really the entirety of the race. You can't just sit aside and only think about your own stint. Oh, wow, that's actually for position. As Milan Dumas is having an argument with, that is the number 90, that's Vesta, that's Class Vesta. In the number 90 Aston, just losing that 7th position back actually to Milan Dumas. We saw those two having an argument with Dima in the McLaren. No, actually, Dima's some way behind. That's a back marker that's right with him. right with the GT4 BMW coming out of the pits. Oh, Struth. That exactly highlights what Dominic was talking about earlier. That could have gotten very, very nasty if the BMW wasn't paying attention there. But thankfully they were, as then through on the inside line is becoming 3 wide now. That's going to get interesting. That's actually a race leader, I think, coming through. As then a bit of a nudge then. That's getting all kind of mad. That's a GT4 Porsche trying to integrate itself with the Aston Martin. Goodness me, that's getting a bit squiggly. But anyway, coming back to the original point I was making, Dave, is this kind of team dynamic. It is still important, even if you're not in the car. You kind of need to keep an eye on what's going on out there. As Dominic was saying, essentially acting as a spotter or highlighting incidents. That is quite important for a team event such as this.
Yeah, I mean, in real life, you don't go racing on your own. There's a massive team of people back in the pits, doing the work of spotting, race engineers, looking at the car, making sure the pit stop strategies are set, and that's no different in sim racing. Especially endurance racing, you have to have a team of people working with you, and in terms of, and it's generally the other drivers. Obviously, some of the pro teams do have race engineers. But just having your spotters, just doing the calculations on your fuel, what we're doing with the tyre pressures, having sometimes we have a spreadsheet that might show different tyre pressures for different temperatures. So we would have done all that work in the background just to make sure, when we do the pit stops, that we've got the most optimum setup in terms of the tyre pressures and fuel that we can get. So teamwork is very important in sim racing, endurance especially. Obviously, single player racing is a little bit easier in that respect, because you've just got to basically get on with it and make the decisions on the fly. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But with the team stuff and endurance, it's as you say, it's very important that you have a good set of people that you're racing with. You can trust them to make the decisions for you, because driving and changing setups on car, certain tracks is difficult. Obviously, Barcelona's got a nice long straight you can do most of it on, but you only get one chance a lap to do that.
Van Duke in the pits then. He's come out in 11th place. Right, I think he's come out a little bit on his own, as we are looking at Lars van Cleef in the number 74 car on the back of the... Who's he on the back of? That's the Audi. That's the 907 Audi. That's Veneresi. He was having a bit with. Whoa, is Veneresi going for a bit of an exploratory route, coming out of turn 4, pretty deep, coming through turn 5, opening the door for the number 74 Aston. Yeah, there's no way back from that. You're trying to keep it front. Oh no! It's Lars van Cleef then trying to return to the racing line. The alley was still there, and that's caused both of them to go off. Lars van Cleef just had a small graze of the wall. Oh, that was a little bit clumsy, I think, as he decides, out of pure frustration, to destroy the advertising hoarding. Send that one off into space. Lead 2 are still having their argument. James Mead is now in the pits as well. Now, that was a bit of a... It was one of those kind of very awkward, very clumsy kind of incidents, but that could have really been avoided. I think was that Van Cleef who was just not quite paying attention to the fact the Audi was still there, or should Veneresi have gotten out of that, do you think, Dave?
Yes, it's difficult when you're heat of the battle. It's it's one of those split decisions that you split time decisions where you really have no time to make it, and just you just do it by your gut. And obviously, once hindsight's a wonderful thing, probably should have got out of it, but it is what it is. It's all done now. Thankfully, they didn't hit the wall by the looks of things, so they live to fight another day. Just getting through the gravel trap is a bit tricky.
Absolutely. What was your thought on that one, Dominic?
Yeah, I don't understand why he turned in. In this game, you have a radar on your car which show you the position of your battling car, and I don't think the radar shows up okay. It's all clean. You can turn into your racing line again. So I don't understand why it happened.
Was that Veneresi just tapping Holzer, wasn't it? That wasn't a very good move. He just really late on his brakes. Just that's lost him 3 positions. So really that move's probably penalised him enough. I suspect that the stewards might not look at that one, but that was a bit clumsy really under the braking. into the braking zone. Here we go again with Abranosa, and still on the back of Kirchie. I suspect we're, Abranosa's so close, so that, it might be thinking that it's a good opportunity maybe to get into the pits a bit early, as long as they've got enough fuel to be able to make only one more stop the rest of the race. It may be that some of the cars are running map 2 or 3 just to eke out their fuel usage, because if they can't make if they can't split the race in half, then they are going to have to do an extra stop, like Chris and Simon were explaining earlier, and that makes it really difficult. And here we go, the replay with on board with the Audi there, and it looks like it's quite alongside the Alpine's, just getting in the line. Oh, actually the Porsche just turned across him, really, just to try and avoid the Alpine. But yeah, it doesn't actually, I probably did him a bit of a disservice there. It didn't look like he was that late on the brakes, just the Porsche maybe turning across his line. Yeah, thanks Steve for showing that to prove me wrong.
That's the thing, isn't it? Is that you've got to make a snap decision when you're in the heat of the moment. It's exactly what you were saying earlier, and it's very easy to make a very snap judgment call. That's why any kind of steward's intervention is always done with multiple angles, not just done on one single point of view, to make sure that all possible outcomes and causes are looked at. So if there is a penalty to be applied, it's given to the right car for the right reason. But Abranosa is still staying right behind the Ferrari at this point. You were saying earlier, Dave, that he might want to come in a little bit earlier. But yeah, like you say, if coming in earlier means that their fuel management strategy is all completely wrecked, it's not really an option, is it?
No, I mean they've really got to try and run as long as they can in the first stint and maximise the full fuel tank. I'm just seeing in the YouTube chat, actually, Mark Neutling's running their M4 as part of their stint on map 2, just to eke out the fuel. Not really a lot slower, but no extra pit stops. So obviously they've potentially got that advantage now if some of the other cars don't manage it.
Ross Gordon having an argument with Van der Weerten there for 16th position, and still Abranosa on the tail of Kirchie. The image of that Ferrari must be burned in his mind by now. He's been sat behind it for so long. I did like the team name for number 90 for the 19. It's darn easy to say. That's something like that on my sheet says F1 Diet or F Idiot. They've now called themselves Burnt Toast Racing, which is equally as amusing and darn easy to say. So very much appreciated there, team number 19 in the BMW, currently in the hands of Mr. Gordon. Still no sign of the pit stop. Are they going to? Can they do half? I can imagine they can do about half distance on one single fuel load.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. There might be some fuel management in almost all the cars. The Bentley should be okay. Obviously with bigger tank, or they have adjusted some of the tank sizes on some of the tracks. So it may be that Barcelona's is actually a little bit smaller. But yeah, you've really got to try and get to at least half distance on one stop. So obviously the maximum driver time is 110 minutes in this race. There is no maximum stint timer, so max out the fuel tank, get it as long as possible, and try to only do one pit stop.
That's the thing. Dominic, how much time do you tend to lose? I know the exact time, it varies pit lane to pit lane, but how much time do you tend to lose when you come in, have to refuel, change tyres? What is, are you talking a minute and a half? How long do you tend to lose?
So we have in Barcelona a very long pit straight, and in the pit stop itself you will lose 30 seconds with tire change and refueling, and only to drive through the pit lane you will lose about 50 kilometers an hour. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, about a minute, so a minute and a half is a good call.
That's a long time to lose, isn't it? When your racing instinct is like, get on with it, and you know you're gonna. It's the same for everybody, obviously, but it's still it just feels so long when you're sat there. You know, the few times I've done sim racing, which, believe me, there's a reason I always go for the commentary box. This is my talent is not behind the wheel, I can promise you. But yeah, the few times I've done it, and you have to go through a pit stop, even just a short fuel stop, it's like, come on! You know, you're sat there, your adrenaline is running, and you want to be getting out there and getting on with it. So a minute and a half is a long time when you're just sat there just watching the clock, or you're knowing that's how much time is ticking away. As we continue to watch Mike Abernhauser hiding the pressure on Andrea Curci in the 267 Ferrari. Still, again, I'm still just not seeing Abernhauser making the move, trying to push the position. So I reckon the Treble 3, the TAR Team Abbey Racing Bentley, Aston Martin, is just picking his moment. I don't think he's struggling. I reckon he's trying to find an optimum time to do it. There's Simon Pike, we spoke to earlier, in the Dynamic Motorsports number 13 Bentley, now up to 7th position, with some pit stops having taken place. That is de Klerk in the number 8 McLaren right behind. That's the double Dutch. Minty Green McLaren, we saw involved in an incident or two earlier on in the race. Are they going to be coming in? We have an hour gone, so another 12 minutes, and we'll be at the time-wise halfway stage. So what are we looking at? What, about 8 laps or so before we hit the halfway stage there or thereabouts. No sign of the pit lane for these guys. So Dave, what might make drivers go for a shorter start? We've seen quite a few cars already come through the pit lane, but we're not close to the halfway stage, or getting close to the halfway stage. What might choose, as we cut to the GT4 lead between the 777 and 11 cars, that's been slowly working its way down, although Vetman does have that 10-second penalty on his Porsche. So yeah, Dave, what might prompt a team to go for a shorter opening stint, as you know, put themselves out of sync with the rest of the field?
Well, you know, let's just, you know, think, you know, obviously, if you're going to be changing tyres in each of your pit stops, you can, you know, as we've seen through as I said earlier, you've seen through the stint, you know, 2 seconds a lap is quite considerable. If you can, you know, restrict that to maybe 3/4 of a second from, you know, when you get your new tyres to the end of your stint, that's, you know, you don't need many of those good laps to actually make up that time where you're losing to be in the pits. I think, you know, I'm just looking at the pit stop times for the 3 GT3s that have stopped, and they're actually only 1 minute and 8 seconds is the longest. So we've had one that's been 55 seconds, but they only stopped for 23 seconds. So they haven't actually changed tyres; they've just put fuel in. So that car number 60 Holster, that's going to be an interesting situation when they get to the end of their next stint. So, you know, maybe they're just doing a bit of splash and dash to try and eke out the tyres as long as they can in the Porsche, and you know, just really use the extra tyres that they're going to get when they stop at the next one. But you know, they only saved really sort of 12 seconds there, so you know, they've got to make sure and be confident and make sure that they can continue with their pace that they have done. So it's going to be interesting to see as we see 6 cars going into turn 1.
Oh, that is close. I was thinking about this. Now, this is the GT4 lead, the pair of GT4 Porsches, with Veronesi in the Audi, John Beaton in the Jaguar. There's a Bentley in that mixture that is out of position, and actually pulling over and letting these guys through, which is again the correct thing to do, because he can be under blue flag conditions. But right behind John Beaton is Van Drunen in the 69 BMW. All the while, this comes back to what you were saying, Dominic, about keeping an eye behind you. Oh no! Was that a mistake there from De Kaiser? I'm not sure. It looked like he went a little bit too deep, but that was really well spotted then from Ross Gordon in the 19 BMW. Oh, 5-second time penalty for the 74 car. That's the THRC2 Aston Martin for causing a collision with the 907, the VR Motorsport Audi, earlier on in the race on lap 28.
Are you sure it's the 74? Because the 47 got a 5-second time penalty.
Oh, was it 47? Oh, I beg your pardon. Oh, yes, so they did. I can't read. I can do
No,
the
no,
talkie bit.
no,
I can
no.
do the talkie bit fine. Yeah.
There was written 74, but 47 got 5 seconds.
That's close. So the race lead has gone through. Second place on the lead is stuck, and the GT4 lead. So we'll come back to you in a minute, Dominic. That's getting very, very busy. And they managed to make it through okay. I was expecting a big old off there from several cars. And again, Kirchi brilliantly using the back marker traffic to just give himself a bit of breathing space for himself and Abernhauser, who now has to push to regain that particular distance. Yes, coming back to what I was saying to you earlier, Dominic. So in what we've just seen between the two lead GT4 Porsches, you said earlier you keep kind of half an eye behind you on the faster cars and half an eye on what you're doing. But when you're then fighting for a position, that's got to make that even more difficult.
Yeah. Really difficult to have a look to the faster cars behind and to battle for your position. You need to look which is more important. This is more important at the moment to let the faster cars by to get better overview of your battle, or is it now important to battle with the other guy and do not let the GT3 cars by?
Fair. It's a fair conclusion there, as the yellow flag was out for the burnt toast BMW, I believe. The number 19 car had a bit of a moment on the final turn. I've been many a virtual lap in that section of Barcelona, so I can appreciate that. We're wandering just a tiny bit too wide on that final turn, trying to maximise your exit speed to carry that all the way down to start finish straight. As we look at Mr. Abernhauser catching the back, that's John Beaton. He's catching the back up the Soul Jaguar. Oh, there's another spin there. That is the 521. That's the Pepperoni Alpine. That's gone for a bit of a spin, around 7 and 8, I think that is, the chicane over there. That was another pitter. That was Veronese in the 907 Audi. So more good stuff to do as we approach the halfway stage in this race. We don't know who's double stinting at what point. As Simon Pike was explaining earlier about the different strategies, who's going to be in the car and when. Dave, do you prefer to kind of do a longer stint? I think we're going to see the 521 Alpine. Completely on his own there. Just about get it out of the wall.
No.
So, Dave, do you prefer to do a kind of an even split, or are you happy to have like a double stint, a longer time in the car?
I do like to be in the car as long as possible because you just get your rhythm, and I do tend to be quite good on the tyres at the start of my stint. So I keep the speed. So if I can, I'll run as long as possible. Although I have actually run this course on a single driver race the opposite way, so I've fueled very low at the start, which is unusual because most people fuel long, but it allowed me to pick up 3 or 4 places because the fuel weight advantage was massive at the time, so it was actually a pretty good strategy at the time. So but it was single player, so it wasn't too much. I didn't have to worry about my teammate and getting in the car, so it was just me putting the laps in. And actually, if you stop early and get some clear air, then you can just pump in the times. You're not racing, you're not getting held up by anybody, and that's generally where I would try to readjust my strategy. If I'm getting held up by someone, there's no real chance of me getting past them, then I'll be re-evaluating, do I need to stop early to try and get the undercut.
What about you, Dominic? Do you prefer shorter stints or longer stints?
It depends on the track. On a track like Barcelona, which is, I would say, very easy to drive, I would take a longer stints and maybe a double stints. But when I went to the Nürburgring Nordschleife, I don't want to double stint. I want to drive like an hour for 8 laps and then go out of the car and to take.
Never touch it again.
not touch it again, but to hand over my car to a teammate to let them drive one stint and then get back into the car, because the Nürburgring Nordschleife is very difficult to drive with so many turns and complex turns. It's quite difficult for your mind.
Fair play. I can't fault that at all. I'm going to put this out there, and I'm going to put a disclaimer. This opinion is not reflected by Simsport Racing International. I don't like Nordschleife. Come at me if you like. I don't like Nords. I have never been any good at it. I can never remember. I always kind of approach one corner thinking I'm somewhere else. I'm not a fan of Nords. I will take the flack and the criticism from every direction on that one as we look at James Mead in the Maniac Refuel number 29 Porsche having a go at the number 8, the double Dutch McLaren. Oh, that's getting close. James Mead still in the car, hasn't handed his toys over as the number 90 car class Vesta is still in the pits. Abernhauser from the lead, so almost bang on halfway, has from second. It's update on the weather from Mr. Proudly. The track is now 13 degrees cooler than what it was at the beginning of the race, and that is going to make a difference to how the car behaves and tyre management, etc., etc. So, Dominic, how much of a difference do you notice with? I mean, that's quite a big temperature difference. So, do you notice that as a driver?
Yeah, precisely. It's so much different of the temperature in your stints. You will notice.
Wow, James Mead, sorry again, cutting you off there, Dominic, as James Mead tried to box in de Klerk and managed to get the position. He used the LP to box in the McLaren. That was a brilliant move. Well played, James Mead. Sorry, Dominic, continue.
Yeah, I don't know where I was.
That was a great move, wasn't it? We were talking about how much you noticed when the track temperature was dropped like quite a long way from the start.
Yeah, when the temperature drops in your stints so much, you will notice this immediately in your tires. They're getting colder and colder. With 13 degrees, your tire temperature must cold. The tire must be cold. In the graphics, it's blue. From green to blue, and you need to box in to get the tire pressure adjust, and then you can go again. But when we now have 13 degrees less than at the beginning, I think we get colder in the next hour. So it will be quite difficult to drive the car around the circuit tonight.
Indeed. So that'll make the characteristics of the car feel very, very different as we're continuing to watch the GT4 lead. Mr. Abernhauser has handed over the second place Aston to Mr. Vickers. So we'll be seeing that charge happening again to get his car back up towards the top spot of the race as we see John Beaton in the Jaguar. He's just served a drive-through, incidentally, in the number 29 car. Not 29 at all. That's 87 car. So as the GT4 battle continues, John Beaton actually had a drive-through. That would be a track limits penalty, as that was not given by the stewards. I don't think it was given by the stewards. We didn't see notification of it. It was a track limits penalty. Thank you, Steve Bradley, confirming that one. Again, that's Werkman having a look on the inside line of Kaiser. No further action between 2 and 3. That is the Furbock Racing Bentley and the 907 are the VR Motorsport Audi on lap 9. That was quite some time ago. So much so I can't even remember the incident. So no further action. So that was obviously quite a contentious one. It took quite a while to get that one properly investigated by the stewards, but no further action has been deemed to be necessary. As we see still De Kaiser fending off the advances of Werkman then coming through turn 9. The two Porsches still having their own argument on the GT4 lead. See, I was going to make a point earlier on that when you particularly notice this sort of thing when the tyres are not up to optimum temperature, whether your car setup lends itself to either understeer or an oversteery car. I personally am not a fan of an oversteering. I don't particularly like an understeering, but of the two, oversteer I find more difficult to live with in a longer race. As our race leader has brought the Ferrari in, Kerchi then has brought in the 488, along with the GT4 leader as well. Damien De Keyser then brings the treble 7 Porsche in, and that's John Beaton in the Soul Jaguar as well. You can see at the top of the shot, well, now at the bottom of the shot. So several people still getting their pit stop done. Dave, understeer or oversteer?
I think I try to go as neutral as possible, obviously, but invariably with rubbish tyres, you end up. So we've got Abrunhauser's just coming down the pit straight, and Kirchie's just coming out the pits, and is Abrunhauser going to get past? Doesn't look like it. So just it wasn't Abrunhauser, sorry, Vickers, but he's still right behind him. So he's going to have a slightly warmer tyres now. So that, this is critical. He needs to use that advantage to try and get past. With actually Mead right on the tail of the three of them. So their pit stop phase has really helped.
Yeah, the 29 Porsche's really gone up, as that's really deep for Chris Vickers. He's lost second. As a result of that, the Porsche now has gone through into second. So, yeah, top 3 battle now for the overall race lead. We're over an hour into the race, and the top 3 separated by, what, a couple of tenths apiece.
Yeah, so excellent. It's to get it so close. I think when we were watching the GT3s on Tuesday as well, the top 3 finished 2.3 seconds apart. So, we've had some cracking racing in the SSRI community this week, and it's set to continue. But just back to obviously what you were saying about the oversteer understeer. It is a lot easier to control a car get lap time out of a car that's oversteering, mainly because you've got something that's understeering. You've literally just got to wait constantly to get on the power, whereas you're controlling effectively the time when you get onto the loud pedal. So in reality, the oversteery car is probably generally the quicker one.
Interesting. So an update from Mike Abrunhauser in the chat. Chris Vickers will need their fuel, and Mead stopped early, so he will need to stop again. We've got Wouter Werder in the commentary box with us. Hello, Wouter.
Hello.
So you're in one of the THRC cars. Which of the Aston is it? 73 or 74? You're in?
I'm in the 73 car.
The 73, which is in 16th at the moment. Vervat has got hold of that one. How's the race gone for you guys so far?
Well, in the qualifying, Schalke did a great job to put the car in P13 next to our teammates. Afterwards, I do the start normally, so I had quite a good start. Was passing some cars, but then got up in an accident at the first corner, so a bit unlucky there, and then trying to get in the groove and having a whole stint long battle with the BMW. I don't know which number, but it was amazing for the battle, but for my perspective, it wasn't my best stint ever.
So just over an hour to go. Is it just looking like the one stop for you guys, or are you going to be back in the car before the checkered flag?
Well, it's definitely not going to be a one stop, but I won't be back in the car as Schalke will be doing another stop. The Austin tank is pretty small with the BOP on this track, so we just do stop.
Fair enough, great stuff. Well, best of luck then to the THRC pair, 73 and 74 Aston Martins. Thank you very much, Wouter. And again, I apologise for when you were last in the commentary box with me, you barely were able to say 3 words. I still feel bad for that. I'm terribly sorry, sir.
Don't worry, you were doing great. I didn't want to interrupt.
You are far too kind. Most people would have said things that we can't broadcast here. But Wouter Werder, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing the rest of the race for the THRC cars. Thank you kindly, sir.
Have a nice one.
Top 4 in the race, very, very close together. So now it's Balconi in the 267 Ferrari. There's James Mees still in control of the Porsche. Bit of a gap back to Chris Vickers, who was right in this battle, but he's got Weiser in the 195 McLaren right with him. So the Alpha Simsport stroke Maniac refueled McLaren is right with him. So the top 4 are, less than 5 seconds apart.
Yeah, I think there's going to be, as Mike said in the chat, James Mead has been in the car on this stint for 25 minutes, so he really needs to make the lower fuel levels count, get past Balconi and get down the road, because he's going to be having to make another stop, as is Weiser and Lenson. They've been in the car for 20 minutes and 27 minutes, so you can, as you can see, they've got the cars here that have really strung it out and managed to stay out as long as possible. With the pit stop, if this was an hour and a half race, then obviously it'd be really close here, but obviously being 2 hours and 20 minutes, then it's these 3 cars that they're not going to be in the fight at the end, because they just haven't got enough speed to get down the road by the looks of things.
Certainly, lack of speed is not something that Balconi is worried about, as James Mead using all of the rumble strip to open up his line through turn 1. Drive-through penalty for car number 74. That's one of the THRC cars. We were talking about Valverde just now. He's part of it was 73, wasn't it? That he used.
Yes, he did, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the sister car that's picked up a drive-through penalty. That's a track limits penalty. As James Mead, well, he looks much more determined to get past Balconi in the 267 Ferrari. So, we saw Abernhauser staying right with the 267 Ferrari, but didn't look like he was challenging it. Whereas Chris Vickers has fallen a little bit off the back, not an insurmountable amount by any stretch, but it's fallen a little bit off the tail of these two. James Mead, though, looks very, very determined to get past the Ferraris. So a challenge for the lead looks like it's going to be coming very soon, as they're continuing to work their way through back markers. How many cars have we still got running? I don't know how many.
27.
27, so only 3 have disappeared since race beginning. Woo, stay where you are. That was the... actually, I'm not sure who that was. We've just gone past as one of the Astons. We just worked these worked their way past. Now coming up to, I think that's the lead of the 2 Alpines. Yes, it is. So that's... Yet again, the 267 Ferrari has utilised brilliantly a backmark, in this case a GT4, to give himself some breathing space. Wow, they're doing great. Oops, that's someone that's gone off in the background of the shot there. Going for a bit of an explore on the gravel trap of that final turn. I'll tell you what, the 267 Ferrari, the Scuderia della Gliba, beg your pardon, 488 squad, have utilised the backmarkers so well.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll say that they planned those moves a long time before they made them, but it's just making the right decision at the right time, isn't it? In the heat of the moment, I'm going to go left, going to go right, and hopefully it's going to make the right move and put some of the other cars at a disadvantage.
Indeed. Now James Mead's got to... He certainly has the pace, but he's going to use a bit more fuel than he would have liked. Chris Vickers does seem to be falling a bit away from that lead battle. Here's the 84 BMW. That is Michael Hutman in control of the Resistance, number 84. He's somewhat on his own. Although he's just gone past the number 47 Mercedes. That's the Racing Dudes Motorsports, or one of the one of the Racing Dudes Motorsport Mercs. So that is for 4th in class at the moment. There is Luca Balconi, who's leading the way in the Ferrari, trying to capitalise on the kind of lovely boxing in manoeuvre that he was able to execute, either intentionally or not last time around. So coming through that final turn, 1.5 seconds the gap between the Ferrari and the Porsche last time check. Let's see what it is this time. Near enough the same. So similar pace then. James may not be pushing too hard, but interesting, Chris Vickers has fallen away, has continued to fall away, really, from the tail end of James Mead. But is Dominic, might this be a sign that Chris has either maybe got a bit of damage or is in trouble in some way, or do you think he's kind of biding his time? Fair point, well made there. Mr. Proudly. So Mike Abbenhauser did make the point he went 6 minutes longer than forecast. Again, probably by the fact that he was slipstreaming for such a long period of time. So Chris Vickers may well just, and Mike did say, again, well reminded us, Steve, that Chris will have to fuel save like mad. So he may well be doing that right now as we continue to see some pit stops then taking place. Holzer in the number 60 Porsche. That's the second time the Porsche's been in. And also the 321 and 74 Astons have come in as well. Mike Abbenhauser, no damage here, just fuel saving. That's why that answers the question of why Chris is a little bit off the pace. So I was paying attention, Mike. I promise you, I just have a very terrible memory. Trying to avoid another stop, and that's the thing, isn't it? If you can just bleed off the pace a little bit and save yourself, as you were saying earlier, Dominic, we were talking about a minute and a half. As long as you don't lose that in the fuel saving stage, then you'll most certainly save a whole pit stop, which can make or break your race.
Yeah. This is a point where you say, okay, I need to save pits, I need to save fuel to save one pit stop, and this is then when I say, okay, I do it and not go for a throttle. But I think with a big enough fuel tank, you don't need to save any fuel. But I don't know how big the fuel tank of it is, so maybe you need to.
Van Horn in the 136 McLaren fending off the advances of Raymond Luyten in the number 90 Team Rocket Ringmeisters Aston Martin, and right behind them that's a lapped Bentley behind them. That's not the number 13 car. Oops, as they're going for a bit of a wander. Yeah, on that point, Dominic, if you're trying to fuel save, is it particularly difficult to kind of suppress the urge to push, especially if you've got someone ahead of you or maybe right behind you? Is it really hard to just, bleed off the throttle a little bit, only drive at maybe 95%, or do you just really focus on what you're able to do? Are you able to do that? I'd be too tempted to push too hard.
No, I would be able to do that because I think further into the race, and when I see, wait a minute, let's watch the battle.
Luyten, what's he doing? Can he get the move done on Van Horn?
Yes.
Nicely done.
Nice one. Decent move.
There was a very good move. Yeah. You were saying, Dom?
When I look further into the race, I would say, okay, I go for this point in the race about 95% of throttle, and to save fuel to get later in the race a better position. So when I do it now, I can do it later on and get a better position, and better than now to fight and to get your ego pushed.
We have some invaders, some guests in the commentary box with us. Hello again, gentlemen. We have got Mr. Pike, and we have got Mr. Hill. Now it's Chris Hill in the car at the moment, going for a bit of a wander. That was... I'm not taking that one. I'd only just started the centres. I'm not taking the blame yet. I will do later, but I'm not taking the blame for that one.
A little excited.
And that's Van Kooten in the double Dutch McLaren just coming past you. How's it going out there, Chris? You're in a decent position there, still well in the top 10. Happy with how it's going so far?
Sort of. until I joined, yeah. We are nursing a slight issue.
Oh dear, what did Simon do? Did he break it?
No, he did, but in the pit stop strategy, he's on overinflated tyres.
Oh dear. By a huge amount?
29. 29.5. All right. Yeah. It's going up. Well, the theory is the bigger the tyres, the less distance you have to travel, so we'll save fuel.
Yeah, that's a very optimistic way of looking at it.
Well, I am trying to climb as many curves as I can to get the PSI.
Keep them PSI out. How much of a difference is that making, Chris, from where you're expecting, how you're expecting the car to behave to how it is behaving? Is there a huge difference?
I'll be honest, it's actually probably better.
Nice. So Simon's fixed it rather than broken it. Oh, we can't have that.
I think it'll be. You'll notice it later on.
Yes.
It's
Fair play.
Yeah.
Is there a particular target in mind, or just the checkered flag?
Exactly that.
yeah. Checkered flag.
flag,
If we
no
finish
yellow.
10, that'll be a bonus.
Nice.
That'll be good. Keep the position we started in. That'll be all right.
We'll keep an eye on how you're getting on. Thank you very much, Chris Hill, Simon Pike.
Thank you very much.
In charge of the number 13 Dynamic Motorsports Bentley. Chris Hill in the car at the moment. Simon Pike trying to break it first thing in the race, but the car is still going. Great to have a chat with. It's good to have a natter with them. Although it was a little ironic. As soon as Chris and Simon are dragged into the channel with us, then Chris goes for a bit of a wander. But then that's the thing, isn't it? Is when you're in that zone, when you are focused, even on a sort of subconscious level, the merest change, someone making a noise or like a channel change and suddenly somebody starts talking to you can really put you off.
Really high respect to the both to do in-kind interview. I don't want to do it when I drive.
No, that's the last thing I'd want to do as well. I get annoyed when one of my children or one of my wife wants to try and say something to me when I'm actually racing, and I tend to do sprint races. So yeah, I can absolutely imagine that. As we are looking at a lead pair now, a bit more of a gap between Luca Balconi and James Mead. Now, it's kind of ebbing and flowing with the traffic in the mixture. As Luca's already gone past them, now James Mead is going to have to work his way past this small gaggle of cars. The sun continues to come down. The headlights seeming brighter and brighter with each lap passing. Just under 54 minutes remaining. Now, Dave, do you ever get to a kind of point, particularly towards the end of your stint, where you're almost kind of fatigue maybe kicking in, starting to get a bit, the mistakes start maybe creeping a little bit? Do you ever sort of look at the clock and kind of will it to go on, or are you a driver that's just able to maintain their focus beginning to end?
Obviously these are fairly short stints. I've done 2 24-hour races, and the first one we were doing 3-hour stints. So that is when you really need to maintain concentration. You have little tricks like just looking at sector times maybe, and just trying to keep your mind active, because as you find, unless you're racing really close with somebody, you are literally racing against the clock all the time. So it is very easy to lose focus, just run wide here and there, and you've just got to try little tricks to maintain that. As it gets dark, it gets harder as well. Obviously, if you haven't driven as it's getting dark, it can be quite a surprise if you jump in the car and all of a sudden it's pitch black when you've done a good stint in the daylight. So that's all about making sure you practice on sim. Obviously, in real life they wouldn't really have that opportunity to do it. So they've hats off to them when they do actually drive like that. But we do have the opportunity to have a bit of practice in the darkness on the sims.
I get tired driving a road car for 3 hours, let alone in racing condition. Obviously you're having to focus on so much more. You're in so many things that demand your attention. There's no way I can manage 3 hours. So absolutely hats off to those that can manage it. 50 minutes is about all I can do, and even then, I very much notice that mistakes start to creep in and frustration starts to kind of take hold. A question there for you, Dominic. So if you're in a position, how easy do you find it to just kind of think to yourself, don't get frustrated, just reset, and if say you've made a mistake, you've had a spin or whatever it is, and you can feel maybe a bit of frustration, do you find it easy to just kind of forget about it and move on, or do you find that it lingers a little bit? Because I know for me that it lingers. It's very difficult for me to keep it behind me and refocus. Is that a problem you have, or are you able to get straight back on with the job?
It's like Dave said with the 3-hour stints. Practice is key. So if you do much races and we got a official 1:09:07 including the flags on lap 39. So they have maybe they get another penalty because they have right away a 5-second penalty.
Just a warning for Raimondi in the 907 Audi. But you were saying?
Yeah. It's key is practice. So when you do a couple of races in top splits, you get the skill to reset immediately after you spawn, you crash, or whatever you did. And in my case, when I racing, then I mainly focus on my race and think, okay, I did a mistake. I need to refocus. It needs about 1 lap, and then I'm focused again.
And you, Dave, are you able to kind of follow that set? Oh, wow, as we see the number 19, that's Darren Menzies in the BMW, having a great scrap with Van Beaver in the number 74 THRC Aston Martin. Are they being joined by? Yeah, that's Cribioli as well in the 321 Aston right behind. I think it's actually getting quite dark to be able to see. So a great three-way fight here for, that's a three-way fight for 17th is brewing. More towards the tail end of the GT3s, but a lovely scrap forming here. But as we were saying, Dave, are you able to kind of just shrug off a mistake and get back on with it, or does it linger in your mind?
I feel sorry for myself probably for a lap, and then just think, let's just get on with it, get back into the groove, because it does interfere with your mind for a little while. Obviously there are some drivers that maybe a little bit more susceptible to a bit of hot-headedness, and they can start driving aggressively, but I'm normally pretty good and pretty steady with that. Even if I've made a mistake myself or been hit or picked up a penalty, just try and reset. Obviously, I think in the GT4 season at Imola, I got a drive through for speeding in the pits, and then when I come to serve my drive through, got stop go 30, but which obviously wasn't ideal. And you just have to literally just go, oh well, let's just try and make the best out of it as we can, and get on with it. Because you still score points, all the way down to 20th position in especially in class in some of the single player races. Obviously here we've got 21, 22 GT3s, so they should all be scoring points if they finish the race.
Yeah, I don't have that ability. A mistake lingers in my head. As we see Darren Menzies having a look for Van Beaver for 17th position. Doesn't quite put it off yet. Back marker Alpine getting out of the way, but that's put Van Beaver off. Coming through turn 4. Can they get it done? Not quite. Aston still having an argument. Darren Menzies in the training BMW. Looking like he wants to get involved. There's the Castrol livery McLaren right behind them as well. So that'll be looking to get past them. That's obviously a lap difference there. But what a great three-way fight we've got going on here. There's GT4 right in the mixture that really doesn't want to be there right now. Oh, that's going to feel very uncomfortable for the GT4 BMW. But they should stay out of the way. 2 of the GT3s through. That's close. Oh, that is very, very close indeed. That's Martin to the 208 BMW, the Fast and Furious car, I believe. So it's getting a little more difficult to identify them. It's on board with Andrea Cribloli, pronounce that correctly, in the 321 car. That's the second of the team at Abbey Aston Martins, or TAR team Abbey Racing, I should say it correctly. These three all swapping position between 17th and 19th. It doesn't have to be a position for the lead. It can be just as entertaining whether it's at the front or at the back.
Yeah, I think actually Chris Vickers might have got into contact with GT4 whilst fighting for third position with Visa. So if we can get a replay on that one, Mr. Bradley, that'd be great to see what happened. But there certainly looks like he's lost some positions there, and obviously still on board with Cribboli here. Who's it looks like there's a bit more gap between him in P19 with Menzies and Lieferbar behind him, but obviously there's a fair few laps behind, aren't they, with Lieferbar maybe 4 laps from the end, and they're not really battling for position on track.
And a drive through for Darren Menzies just to aggravate the Dean Burnt Toast camp once again. That's a shame. As you never really want to see a race or an argument fended off like that, concluded like that, but that's the nature of the beast. You've got to push as much as you can to try and make your way through the field. Sometimes it just pushed back a little bit too hard. What's happening here? So oh, Chris Vickers is on the outside of here. Oh, just taps the tail end of the orange and blue Aston Martin there, and then just loses so much time. There was a tiny tap. 3 wide into the final turn. Ooh, that's tricky the best of times. Back on board with Kitty early. Is he going to try and banzai that one? No, thinks better of that one. The TAR team, Abbey Racing 321 Aston, is trying to get back ahead of the burnt toast BMW. Weird sentence to say that one. That is number 8 McLaren that's coming up behind them. Oh, maybe. Oh, it's the 77 car that's coming up behind them. That is the that's another one of the Alpha Simsport Struck Maniac refueled cars, and that's in. That'll be in to serve the drive-through. Then Darren Menzies bringing the number 19 car in. That'll make this little scrap, I would say, diffused, but certainly a little easier to deal with for now.
Yeah, it's just when you get a drive-through, it's never nice, but it's thankfully only 25 seconds, maybe 30 seconds here. Generally on most tracks apart from Spa. There are a couple of shorter ones like Zolder, and Zandvoort's not too bad either, but it's really ruined his race. But I think he's probably going to maintain 19th because Van Vorselen is another 2 laps behind, so they've got a lot of time behind, but only 44 minutes, so I think they're going to struggle to make that time back up.
We continue to watch Andrea Cribioli on the tail then of the Beaver in the 74 Aston Martin with the 77 car, and there we go. That is indeed well spotted. Steve Bradley that's the 6th position. It's Adrian in the 6th place McLaren. Working his way through the field. Darkness continues to descend, adding a further challenge. Anybody using visual braking markers will find them even more difficult to find. There's a race leader of Luca Balconi, working his way past one of the Alpines. Whoa, that could have gotten nasty. But fair play. I think that's the number 16 car, the Margarita Alpine, as the number 43. James Mead in the pits again, and the now was top 3 Porter was, well, it wasn't second when he came in. So what's happened to James Mead? Unless that was a really short stop. I think you, Dave, was mentioning, or somebody mentioned that that might have been actually Mike Abernhauser that mentioned that that Porter was short stopped. So yeah, well spotted, Mr. Abernhauser. So that has come back to bite them. If that is the case, so James Mead bringing the 29 Porter in, that's going to give the 195 car, the Maniac refueled number 4 McLaren, up into second. Chris Vickers in third, 2.5 seconds behind, but that's going to give Luca Balconi nearly 15 seconds to the good up front.
Yeah, their last stint 47 minutes, so they've obviously decided very early that they were going to do a 2-stopper. Coming out the pits, a 40-second time stop, so that's actually quite long. Really, they should be doing a 30-second stop. So I think they may have missed their excuse me, their pit marker. So that's cost them dearly, especially when they really need to maximise the time in the pits. Sorry, minimise the time in the pits, and get out and use those tyres to their maximum.
That's where I've been going wrong. I've been sat there in the pits thinking it was a good idea, and with my pit crew shouting at me. That's where I've been going wrong with this stuff. Coming back to what I think you were saying, Dominic, about, well, you both were actually saying about practice. I've practiced spinning and wandering off the road. I'm a pro at that. I'm an absolute pro at that. So, Dominic, some might think that it's, hitting your pit mark is a really easy thing to do. It's not, is it? It's actually quite easy to miss it, especially in the dark.
Yeah, you're right. You need to practice as often as you can, so that you just not miss it. You have on your board some markers to brake, and then you are perfect in your pit spot. But you can easily miss it when you fall 1 second asleep or something else in the dark. Yeah. Quite often.
We see it in various categories of real life motorsport. The pros do it. They can overshoot the pit box, especially tiredness and fatigue. Even though drivers will practice pit stops, real teams will practice pit stops over and over and over and over and over again. It's very easy to overlook that, how important that is in the sim racing world. And again, you can make or break your race, especially with how close some of these battles are. So we're looking at Danik Dessoir on the back of Chris Hill. This is for 11th now, the number 13 Bentley, as we were talking to both Simon and Chris earlier. So Chris now having to fend off the advances of the CBSR number 69. That's the second, I think, of the CBSR. No, sorry, beg your pardon, there's only one in the field. So it's really easy to make just a tiny mistake like that, and it cost you what, 3 to 4 seconds, something like that, Dominic, if you miss your something like that before you, because you've got to then back up, get properly on your marks, and if you're in a fight like this, losing 3 to 4 seconds is very hard to make back again.
Yeah, I think generally, if you've practiced your pit stops a lot, you actually turn your engine off before you've stopped, so you don't have to worry about that when you've stopped. So if you miss your marks, you've got to move your car, you've got to start your engine, get your car moving again, and then get in the right position. If the sim, if you're only a little bit off, the pit crew will pick you up and move you. But obviously that takes time as well. So like Dominic says, being on the money with your pit markers is crucial, especially when you're only in the race. Obviously 2-3 seconds apart. That can really change the complexion of the race.
Yeah, see, my pit crew would just pull me out the car. They would just point me out by the scruff of the neck, launch me towards the nearest bin. As continue to watch Danik Dessoir. Wow, as he's really got a turn at pace now in the BMW. And that's another thing that is going to be interesting to see, is as we now are in the last 40 minutes of the race, we're going to be getting towards a point where people will stop fuel saving. Look at the leader now, Barconi, continuing to extend that lead. Is he pushing to make a pit stop gap? That's the thing that we don't know either. That Ferrari is very, very frugal with its fuel gauge, which, let's be honest, the pace they've had, I doubt it. So I would imagine that Balconi is looking to absolutely press like mad to build up a pit stop gap, or at least mitigate a pit stop loss. 16, that's nearly 17 seconds now back to the 195 car. So that's what makes me wonder. I know that there was, the Porsche was there, number 60 Porsche was there, that's now in the hands of Carpenter. So that gap is, it's not so much misleading, but it's not always been that long. But I think Balconi is just absolutely flooring it to build up a pit stop. Otherwise, he's done an absolutely incredible job of saving fuel. But then that comes back to what Chris Vickers is doing, what Mike Abernhauser in chat has been talking about, of having to save enough fuel to mitigate or not require losing that much more time. As we now look, that's our GT4 leader just being passed with the number 60 car. That is the number 60 Porsche we were just talking about. It's Carpenter just coming past. Very nicely done. Patrick Vance now in the at the helm of the 777. We have nearly 20 seconds between himself and Schenk. Now, they've said the penalty. That's why that gap is so long. Oh, that's a bit close. Oh, no, speaking of penalties, number 47, that's the racing boost. That is them. Volker de Schau, as the number 47 has got a penalty for colliding with car number 43. That was the Team Rocket McLaren. Yeah, we saw that happen on lap 20 a little while ago, so 10 seconds for them to have to deal with. As frustrating as it is, I think that was the impact that we saw. Back up to our race leaders continue. Every single lap, he's just pressing on. Dave, do you think am I completely off the mark? Is he just pressing on with amazing pace, or is he actually building up a pit stop again?
To be honest, I don't see the reason why they would want to do that. They made their first stop with an hour and 10 minutes to go, which was not pretty much half the race distance. So they made it with a warm-up lap with the fuel that they had on board. So I would be very confused if they were doing that. I think they've got enough fuel in the tank to make the end of the race, even with a couple of laps, maybe doing a little bit of lifting and coasting. As you say, they've got 17.6 seconds gap now roughly to P2. They'd need to almost get a lap on people to get another pit stop. So I'll be very surprised. Obviously, Mike Cabrera in the chat is just discussing that they need an extra 3 litres of fuel because they haven't quite got enough. So that's probably why Chris has made sure he's dropped off, because otherwise they're not going to finish the race, and they will have to do another stop, which will put them somewhere near sort of P10.
Oh, wow. Shows how costly that extra pit stop is. There is Chris Vickers in the treble 3. The TAR Team Abbey Aston Martin has been very firmly in the top spots for quite a while. There is the GT4 leader who's just coming past the treble 7 car, the Pulse Motorsport Porsche. Being past, another drive-through penalty being applied. This time it's the other Team Abbey car has earned itself a penalty. Mr. Gribbioli has going to have to bring that one through the pit lane. That's got to be so demoralising. I've earned my own penalties in just a one-man team in a sprint race, but in a team environment, Dominic, that's got to be it's got to be so frustrating. Either you're picking up either you're kind of finishing off someone else's penalty, or there's got to be a bit of is there pressure on you to try and behave a bit better in a team event, or does that not make a difference?
Yeah, you try to avoid the track limits as everybody in the team, but it's a team sport, it's your team, and it is so what it is, and you bring your part into the penalty. So maybe your teammates got 2 track limits warnings and you got 2 track limits warnings. So it's equal who got the track limits warning. You both take your part to it. Also, when you only get 1 track limit warnings, then you take your part with it. So it's a team. You need to adapt and so on.
Yeah, fair play. As the 195, the Maniac Refueled number 4, McLaren has come into the pits. Mike Abbott has a spot on calling that one from second in the race, as Yannick Valenduk has got a whole heap of cars to deal with. None of them are for position. They're all having their own arguments, and he's just kind of caught up in the middle of it, but does work his way through. Well, he's claimed P6, beg your pardon. Yeah, that's Lutine right behind the number 90 Aston Martin. Another drive-through has popped up on the table. That's the number 97 car has now gained one. That's the Vanilla Motorsports Aston Martin now has pushed luck with the track limits a little bit far. Yeah, Raymond Lutine in the Team Rocket Ringmeisters Aston Martin is right with Yannick Valenduk. So there is a battle for 6th position there, but I think that's gone the way of Valenduk. He's now pressing on. Wouter Vrins, the Furbolg number 213, trying to make his way through the field, been in the pits a long time, is now trying to press on and make up for lost time. But as you were saying earlier, David, he's always worth trying to press on and seeing where you can finish. Despite the fact that he's a number of laps down, you may as well see what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, as you get in real life, you get technical failures with drivers. They especially in the dark, they might have an incident that means that you jump up 2, 3, 4 places, from people dropping out of the race. So it's always worth finishing the race. As Lewis Hamilton found last weekend, he was willing to throw in the towel after the first lap and finish 5th.
Yeah, fair play. As we look at Jim Van Kooten in the double Dutch McLaren, just claiming 8th from Van Horn in the 136 McLaren. The Red Rocket Racing McLaren getting turn 10 all wrong. Getting 8th position over. As Jan and Valenduk now up to 5th position. That will be with pit stop still taking place. Still with Lutine right behind him. Half a second separation of those two. Only one. Oh no, beg your pardon. That's the 195 car that's come back out right behind him. Excuse me. Now Fredrickson in charge of the Maniac Refueled car. There is Giorgio Raimondi in the 907 Audi with a 5-second penalty to serve or to be added. Oh, as he's having an argument, that's Chris Hill in the 13 Bentley. It's now got somebody else for company as Deswalt. We saw him go past earlier on. Chris Hill now has got more defending to do. There's an Audi trying to mitigate the penalty that they are still carrying. Of course, they have to come into the pits, they'll have to serve that penalty anyway. And a stop-go penalty, so the drive-through... Has the drive-through been changed into a stop-go penalty, Steve?
Yes.
Ah, good spot there, Dominic. So the 3-2-1, that's the Team Abbey Racing Aston. The drive-through has become a stop-go 30, so that happens if they don't serve it quick enough, I think.
I think it's likely to happen if they speed through the pits when they're doing the drive-through. So either into the pits or out of it. So yeah, I've fallen foul of it, as I said earlier. But it's that is one of those where you just hang your head in shame if that happens.
As we look at the battle for 6th, so that is Fredrickson in the 195 McLaren, the Maniac refueled or Alpha Simsport car, leading this small train. Valenduc is 3.5 seconds up the road from this. And then you got Lutine, who was on the back of Yannick Valenduc not that long ago, is now trying to reclaim 6th position. Is he going to make a move here? He's certainly gaining. Less than half an hour to go now. So anybody that is got anything left in the tank. Oh, he caught the apex coming through turn 2. That aggravated his run through 3. But does manage to keep the car under control. The car right behind you is not for position. I can't even tell who the car behind is. So on position-wise, it's the number 8, it's the double Dutch car. But on track, I haven't a clue who that is. I can't see. But still pressing on there, Raymond Lutine. Still trying to challenge for 6th position or stay in contention for 6th place nonetheless. No sign of, well, I was just about to say no sign of the pit stops, but Cribioli has brought the 3-2-1 car back in again. This will be for a stop go, to serve the stop go 30. Oh, that's a shame because they were doing pretty well, but it feels such a long time. It is a long time in racing terms, but so Lutine had to suddenly jump out from behind Fredrickson there on the run down towards 10. Can they get it done outside line? Oh, we've seen this work earlier in the race, but Fredrickson just noses ahead. Oh,
That was close.
mere pixels of pass. Wow, that was close. And a flash of the lights there from the 21. That's the Racing Dudes Bentley. They're not on the same lap, so quite why they were flashing the lights there, I don't know. But they're down in 20th. I mean, you can, you shouldn't, if you can. But my goodness me, Marius Fredrickson, you could have struck a match between the two cars. They were that close.
Yeah, they're not finished yet either. He's the 90 in Luton is just on the outside up into turn 1, but he's not going to get around there unless he runs wide, which it does seem to have just taken a little bit of speed out. Oh, he's actually he's lost it on his own.
Did he fall or was he pushed? We didn't see an impact from that angle, but that's given 6th position now to Raymond Lutine. There we go, the tower now updating himself. It looked like Fredrickson got a little bit squiggly on his own, but there may have been a touch there. Couldn't quite see. I can't say I saw an impact between the two. But Marius Fredrickson, though, still got not fallen that far behind, only 2.6 seconds. Still time to make that back up if he's got anything left in his tyres, if he's got anything left in the tank. Is tyre management much of a thing by this stage in the race?
It's difficult because obviously, especially if you've stopped halfway through, the leaders stopped pretty much bang on 50% through the race, so they will be trying to maintain their tyres for sure, because doing an hour and 10 minutes is probably pushing the limits of the tyres. Especially if the pressures are a bit off. Obviously, the track temperature has only dropped 1 degree since the 50% mark of the race, so they should have those tyre pressures set pretty well. Obviously, as we know, the 13 degrees for the first half of the race is a drastic swing, so you've just got to pick the best pressures. They do tend to grain up if they get cold and you push them too hard. So you've obviously got to be mindful, and the temperature and air temperature and track temperature is pretty warm, so their brakes won't be getting cold. The tyres are unlikely to be getting cold at this temperature. If it was down at sort of 9-10 degrees, then you'd be hoping to have a bit of temperature in your brakes to try and maintain those. But that's when you really start to feel the issues with the tyres. If you do push them too hard at the start of the stint, or if you push them a little bit too hard towards the end, they can actually degrade quite quickly.
Well, it was a big move, or looked like it was going to be a big move there from Raimondi coming through turn 10. And Chris Hill just minding his own business, just driving the lines. And going to get the horses galloping in the Bentley coming through the final turn to keep the Audi behind. And then behind them, you can't see who that is, but that's not Eddie de Jong in the Jaguar. That kind of some distance behind. Now, is Raimondi going to have to make a move here? Defensive position there for Chris Hill. And the Audi goes on the outside line. Bit of door banging going on there, but not big enough. Not a big enough impact to unsettle either car. Yeah, I think Raimondi bled out of that one. He's kind of turned it a little bit too hard. Maybe there was a snap of oversteer as well from the Audi, but the 12th position remains with the 13 Bentley.
I'm just looking at the timing board, Chris, and Schellekens, who got in the car after James Mead after his second stop, is now only 20 seconds behind P3 Adrian. Took 2 seconds nearly out of him on the last lap. So there could be a battle for third position brewing towards the end of the race.
Excellent. Keep an eye on that. There is Giorgio Raimondi again. Still having an argument with Chris Hill. We briefly saw Dimitri Van Bever having an argument with Sinshawa. Again, not sure I pronounced that correctly. Apologies there. In the 97 Vanilla Motorsports Aston Martin. So, several battles. I mean, we haven't really had a period of time where we haven't had a battle somewhere, which is great to see. But, Raimondi trying to use the agility of the Audi to overhaul the raucous Bentley, and right behind is that, I think, is the second of the THRC Aston Martins we saw have a bit of an incident earlier on. There will be the 74 car. That would be coming into the pit. So was I right? Was that the 74 car? Don't know. Can't see anyone with a pit. No, I was the wrong one. It was the 73 car coming in. Oh yeah, it was the 73. It was that had the incident. As the Audi now with the slipstream goes to the outside line coming into turn 1. Can Chris Hill? Oh, that's deep for Chris Hill. No, too deep. Could not slow the big old Bentley down enough, and is going to have to concede that one. I've said that before, and the battle continued, but yeah, Chris Hill's going to have to concede that. There's Denis Swart in 11th place. He's trying to take off after the Carpenter Van Horn fight for 9th, but yeah, there you go, on board with Chris Hill. Couldn't fend off Raimondi. Did look like the Audi had the overall pace advantage, so that is 12th position then to the 907 as they're catching up to, I think that was that was one of the GT4 BMWs that we were just catching up to. There is Austin Carpenter on the tail end of Van Horn in the 136 McLaren. This is about for 9th place. So the number 60 Alpha Simsport stroke Maniac Refuel, depending on which one of the Alpha cars you're looking at. Having a look at the Castrol flavoured McLaren, the 136 car, the Red Rocket Racing McLaren, hanging on to 9th position, some distance behind the number 8, the Double Dutch McLaren. So that is a battle that they're going to contend with themselves. 22 minutes to go, and Balconi at the moment unchallenged up front, but does he have another pit stop to serve? Chris Vickers now up to 2nd place with the pit stops going. 25 seconds now is the lead the Ferrari has. So, or did the last time check. There's a great battle for 4th. Schellekens, as you were saying earlier, Dave, an absolute charge as he's still ahead of Yannick Vanendoob. Is Vanendoob now pressing on to try and keep up with the Porsche and seeing how that's going to go? We will see. It's the latest time check. So there you go, 20.3 seconds between Schellekens and Adrian to get the number 29 Porsche on the podium, or will the third spot at the podium remain in the hands of the 77, the Alpha Simsport 3, or the Maniac refueled car, as Yannick Vanendoob has defied the Porsche on the inside line coming through turn 12. That's it's not an easy place to make a move, as Yannick Vanendoob puts Team Rocket M Power up into 4th.
I think Valenduc actually might be. Well, he's currently the fastest man on track with a last lap of just on that last lap where he was battling 47.4. So didn't make any time on Adrian, but the previous lap a 45.9 versus a 47.5. So yeah, he's certainly got the pace in that McLaren. But unfortunately, it looks like Abrinoza and Vickers are going to have to stop for a splash and dash. So the podium positions are definitely going to change.
Well. Don't go anywhere yet. 20.5 minutes to go, and the position's not decided. Danny Deswar, 11th position, trying to challenge to get into the top 10. The 136 car, the Red Rocket Racing McLaren, is being challenged. Danny's got the inside line coming up towards turn 1. And there's the number 60 Porsche just going out of the shot. Can he slow that one down? Yes, Danny Deswar does indeed get the CBSR BMW slowed down enough. And that is up into 10th place then. As Austin Carpenter in the number 60 Porsche, he's right ahead of them. So that's essentially a battle for 9th that is still going on. 1.7-ish seconds between the Porsche and the BMW at the moment. But still plenty of fighting to conclude.
Yeah, obviously McLaren's getting mighty close there, isn't he? Into the braking zone, just trying to put the pressure on. Maybe just thinking about just moving out of the line just to see if he can put the 69 off of Danny Deswar. He's a wily old fox. I've raced against him a little bit this season, and he's certainly capable racer of being harsh but fair. Just see if the McLaren can actually even just maintain that gap. And you've got at least one GT4. I think that's the 11 of Dushenk up ahead, who is currently in P2 for the GT4s with Danny Deswar there, just getting past them. And who's that up the road into? Is that another GT4? God, it's difficult to see, isn't it? Yeah. Is that the P1 of Patrick Wanst in GT4s there? I don't think it is. That's 17 seconds behind.
Yeah, that's Austin Carpenter in the 60 Porsche that I believe Danny Deswar has got very much in his sights now. Only a second between them at the last time we checked. Yellow flag out there for someone. That's over at turn 13, 14. Who was that? That was the 136 car, the Red Rocket McLaren we were talking about earlier. Holy moly, that looked deep from the 60 Porsche there. Did they manage to slow it down? Well, we didn't see them fly off the road. There is Luca Balconi in the leading Ferrari, or sole Ferrari, which has led all race long, even just minus a few laps for pit stops. But goodness me, it's absolutely flawless performance then from the Scuderia del Gliber team. 22 seconds. That lead is coming down, but Mike Abernhauser in chat does confirm that they're about 5 litres short of the under race, which must be absolutely gutting for the Treble 3 team. But we don't know if anybody else has got to come in at this stage. I would imagine Balconi is probably just going to, really just cruise it home now. Doesn't need to push. Comfortable lead behind us. Whether he knows that the Treble 3 car needs to come in again, we don't know. Or Mr. Abernhauser is playing games with us. We will see. Could be doing the double bluff. Who knows? Only they know.
Yeah, they could be, but it looks like the Balconi's teammate has confirmed that at the moment they are 3 laps long on fuel, so they're staying plan A. So let's see if that happens. I suspect that you can't get 3 laps wrong. That's a good sort of 10 or 11 litres of fuel, so I think that they should be okay. Valenduc just looks like he's lost a bit of pace since he passed Shelikan, so I don't think he's got enough time now to actually make up that gap to Adrian, but it's going to be
sorry, Dave,
that's okay.
That was somewhat close between Balconi and what I believe is the blue Alpine, the number 16 car. Again, really hard to tell in the dark, but that was a little bit close. But again, he doesn't have to take risks. He doesn't have to do silly banzai moves. He's now just bringing the car home. However, there is still fighting out there to be concluded. I can see on the tower there's a battle for 7th for me between the 195 McLaren, the Alpha Simsport 4, or the Maniac Refueled squad in 7th place with the number 8 Double Dutch McLaren That is for essentially third of the McLaren cars on the field, so there's a great battle forming there. Carpenter has not completely gotten rid of De Swart either, and it's only a second between those two. So potential battle forming there. Van Horn is now 17 seconds behind De Swart. I wonder what happened there. It must have been an incident for the 136 McLaren that we didn't see. But wow, with only 15 and a half minutes remaining, it looks like it's going to be comfortable for the 267 car, but we will see. Have I just cursed them? We will be finding out.
Yeah, it's they've got maximum control of the race here. Obviously, that was a bit of a dicey time. Just sort of should have just bided his time and backed off a little bit. Don't overtake a GT4 on a corner.
Yeah. Just as Gertrude just said that, oh my god, the GT4 stopped his heart. Yeah, I bet. And Mike Aberhausen, when they started, they were 18 litres shy. Wow, to make that up over 2.4 hours, fair play to use that by 13 litres. But that was ambitious, I think, is the phrase there.
Yeah, ambitious, but they probably could have gone down maybe another couple of maps and maintained P2. Probably had the speed to do that, I guess. Obviously, where are they? 44 seconds in front of Adrian at the moment, so it's going to be tight. I'd be tempted to get in early to try and see if I've got another opportunity side by side there.
On screen is Luca Balconi having just out for a Sunday night drive at this stage as he bounces past. Tell which of the Astons that is. Minding his own business there. As we turn 10. Still arguments to be concluded. As mentioned, as the two McLarens were side by side. That's the battle for 7th that we mentioned with Fredriksson and Van Kooten, the 195 and 8 cars, which we'll hopefully catch up with shortly. But I'm just still interested to see how these pit stops are going to play out. Who's still going to finish well? Because if the pit stops happen the way that we've been told they'll happen, the podium still isn't decided.
No, and Adrian, as Mike has said, they are almost on the 1 hour mark. That's pushing it. 13 minutes, can they get another 12 minutes out of it, plus potentially a lap as well if Balconi goes through.
Yeah, that is close. So that's a three-way fight. Sorry to cut you off there. Yes, that's Fredriksson, Van Kooten, and now Carpenter in the Porsche. So that's a three-way fight for 7th that's going on there. And De Swart's actually right behind them. Now the McLarens are side by side again. The double Dutch McLaren's got the inside line to, very comprehensively claim that for the number 8 car, and then Fredriksson attacks immediately coming into turn 4, can't quite get it done, then Carpenter in the Porsche, then De Swart in the BMW. Oh, what a great finish we've got, 12 and a half minutes, a 4-way fight for 7th. Yes, we'll have some of that, and Chris Vickers has had to admit defeat. In he comes in the treble 3. A great effort to mitigate the short fuel, but alas, with 12 and a bit minutes to go, he's had to bring the treble 3 in. He's come back out again by the look of the tower, and has he remained in second? We'll see on the next timing update. But what a move from Austin Carpenter in the Porsche. De Swart in the BMW, beg your pardon, is the Porsche defending from the BMW. So that's Van Horn now down into 11th in this particular conga line, and Van Kooten is running off into the distance. Yeah, you carry on having an argument, I'm off.
Yeah, and Chris Vickers looks like he's just maintained P2 with 2 seconds to the McLaren behind him with Adrian. So that was an excellent stop. Get in on your marks, get your 2 or 3 litres of fuel, and get back out. So P2 maintained by Vickers. Well done.
Very well done indeed. Yeah, not by much over the 77 car. The Alpha Simsport 3 McLaren is right with him. Only a couple of seconds between them, but this fight here for 7th continues. Well, it's now, strictly speaking, battle for 8th, as Van Kooten has now got himself some breathing space that De Swart doesn't have. The Carpenter, beg your pardon, doesn't have, because he's got De Swart all over his tail. On board This is Danny Deswar in the BMWs. He just absolutely throws it on the inside of turn 9, gets squiggly on the exit of 7 and 8. So the Porsche's gone into the line, and the BMW said, yeah, hold my beer, I'm having a go at this. Claims 1, and then nails the Porsche. Well, does he do it before he gets to turn 10? He's then going to try and do an outside maneuver, braking into turn 10. Doesn't quite get it done, but great effort there from Danny Deswar. And look at that, now 1.8 seconds back to Fredriksson.
Yeah, what an excellent move! Yeah, it's opportunist. Yeah, the car on the outside just made a little mistake, run wide. Yeah, that corner is particularly really difficult to take it tight. It's maximum speed in terms of turning, just a little drop down into third gear, and you're doing really well to be able to just pull it in and take the inside line. But yeah, great defending there from the Porsche as well, just to keep him behind.
Continuing to look at Austin Cooper, they're now up at the 8th position. Danny Deswar right on his tail, trying to close in again on Van Kooten in the double Dutch McLaren. Ahead of them, there is the BMW, the 69 car, CBSR M4. There is the double Dutch McLaren, the minty green one just coming out of the shop. Fredriksson looks like he doesn't quite have the pace to maintain his gap to this particular pack. I'm keeping an eye on the gap between Adrian and Vickers in second, and it is dropping. It's now 1.5 seconds between the 333 Aston and the 77 McLaren. Oh, who is going to win out on that one? But yeah, Van Kooten can't have it easy as well. Almost less than near enough, bang on a second between Carpenter and Van Kooten, and he's dragging Deswar with him. It's now 3 seconds back to Fredriksson, so he's dropped off the back. Maybe he's having the fuel save, maybe his tyres are dead, who knows. But that was now the gap for second has increased a bit. It's now 1.9 seconds between Vickers and Adrian. So what's that one ebb and flow? But we've got a wonderful fight here for 7th at least, that could well go to the flag.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the pings as well. Van Kooten's pings, flicking between red and green. So hopefully that's not going to come into play where he might, with a little bit of lag or, some type of net code with that. So hopefully it's only driver 2 that's causing, that's not causing the problem. So let's see. Obviously Carpenter's really pushing hard, as is Deswar, but it's really difficult to race the slower, maybe the slower car, which is Van Kooten, when you've got somebody behind that's pushing you that hard.
Indeed. Fastest lap still with Valenduc, but that's been like that for a while. And he's in no man's land. 14 seconds behind the podium and 7 ahead of Schelikens, who himself is some distance ahead of Lighton, who's only 1.4 ahead of Van Kooten, who's still got Carpenter and Deswar right on their tracks. Wow, Fredriksson's falling away very, very badly. So, and it's less than a second between Vickers and Adrian now. Oh my goodness me, it's going to be difficult to know where to point the camera now. Less than 8 minutes to go. Oh, come on! There's lots of chat going on. Lots of chat going on in chat. There's a great sentence for you. Lots of support going on for the drivers. Great to see. But we've got some wonderful racing now. As now Luton has got a lot of traffic right behind us. We see the Aston almost lose that going into turn 3. As coming out of turn 3, big above. That's the back shot from Raymond Luton then in the number 90 car, the Team Rocket Ringmeisters, number 90, the Aston Martin. That's Van Kooten, Carpenter and Deswar all ready to do battle for the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, we got Chris Vickers and Adrian coming up to a gaggle of back markers, two GT4s by the looks of things, and a couple of GT3s, so they're going to be hoping they're going to get out of the way and allow them to battle to the end. As Adrian's in the pits.
Oh no, the 77 had to come in. That's going to potentially drop him behind Valenduc. So is the number 43 car, is the Rocket Empower McLaren going to get on the podium? We will see. That's a shame, very anticlimactic end to that, but look at this. Struth, that is 6th to 9th in this particular battle here. 4 cars all vying for position with very, very little time left. This is fantastic.
Yeah. So Valenduc is looking like he's going to easily get up into 3rd, just going across the pit straight, down the pit straight now, and yeah, he's easily into 3rd. So he's moved up. Obviously, unfortunate that Adrian had to stop so late. maybe didn't do enough fuel saving, or was never going to get to the end, and that was their strategy. But yeah, it's unfortunate. But as we see Carpenter moving out the outside, Danny just swore on Carpenter, and he looks like he's definitely got the run. It's on the inside into turn 1, and it's gonna easily done there, and good move. Looks like a little bit in that code there. Looked like they bumped, but no harm, no foul. And now he's going to have to try and close that little gap here to Van Kooten, who doesn't seem to be taking advantage of the battle behind.
No, but with only 5.5 minutes left, he may not be able to. There may be not enough fuel left in the tank for him to push any harder. There may be nothing left in the tyres for him to be able to utilise. We don't know what strategy they followed. But what we do know is we have got a fantastic battle for the last 5 minutes of this race. 2.4 hours. Oh no, Chris Hill has had to bring the number 13 in. Oh, that is potentially going to drop him down the field. Certainly, well, there we go. He's dropped into 13th. I think he may stay there. I think Eddie de Jong in the 87 Jaguar is away back as the Porsche. That's Carpenter has gone for a bit of a wander. Side by side between the BMW and the McLaren. Danny de Swart has done it again. That seems to be a real... we saw that great move into turn 9 a few laps ago. He's now done a great move on the entrance to turn 10. Danny de Swart is on a mission.
Yeah, he's certainly got the pace. Obviously, I guess he's saved his tyres and just made his car just not pushed it too much, and he's certainly got a pace advantage over the rest of the cars at the moment. And as in, is that Luton comes into the pits?
Oh,
so
no.
Danny de Swart up to 6th.
With less than 5 minutes to go, he must be livid. Oh, that's got to be gutting. And Chris Hill's actually still in the pits. The 13 car is now moving. So was there damage on the car? Having a brew, says Steve Bradley. But there's some distance back to the 87 car. Oh, that's the number 8 McLaren. That's Van Kooten that's gone for an explore on the inside line of turn 2. Oh no, that's going to drop him down. That's him down to 8th. That's Danny de Swart up into 6th now. Austin Carpenter now 7th.
Luton's, I think it looks like he's actually going to be down to sort of P10 or 11. After that pit stop, obviously Carpenter and Van Kooten now into P8. Van Horn looks like they've done Luton down to P11. So what an unfortunate chain of events, really. Two incidents. One mainly because they haven't got enough fuel, and the other one just looked like he just turned it round on his own on a little bit of a snap into turn 1.
Seems to be the way. There's Patrick Vance, who's been the leader of GT4 for what feels like forever, was challenged by the second of the Porsches and the number 11 car, but it was never really under threat. But there is Luca Barconi, who is just gliding the Ferrari. No challenge now for the overall race win. Even if they pitted now, they'd still come out in the lead. So we saw the treble 3 come in earlier on. That's the GT4. That's both leaders, the GT3 and GT4 leaders. You can see race leader on the left, GT4 leader on the right. So the GT4 leader's still got a lot of traffic to have to deal with. Oh goodness me, still great battling to go. It's look at Vance there in the treble 7. He's just got to mind his own business, but so hard to do. He's been in the car for quite a while, and he's still got loads of cars. And if he makes a mistake, he could well take somebody with him.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, absolutely. So it's difficult when you've got so many cars around you. You just got to be mindful of everything that's going on, and stick on your lines, and just, especially when you're a GT4, stay on your lines and don't do anything that's unpredictable, because the GT3s don't know what you're doing, and that speed differential is so high that you do something unusual, that's it, you're spun around or you're interfering with their race.
Indeed. So Barconi then just continuing to go through the laps. We saw Kirchie start that car and just build that lead lap on lap on lap, and after the pit stop they've just done a brilliant job. The strategy has gone perfectly their way, using brilliant moves from both drivers of the 267 car to box in their opponents and keep that lead completely to themselves. 1 more minute to go. Final lap is now beginning. The 2.4 hours of Barcelona will be drawing to a close. Now, the Scuderia della Gleba team, they won at Misano 2 races ago. Were it not for a disastrous race in the opening of the season at Kyalami, oh, where they would be. They were 10th last time out at Silverstone and are looking to add another one to the win list. So we'll see if they're able to bring that one home. But that's, I mean, again, coming back to the GT4s, the Pulse Motorsport Porsche has been absolutely, again, peerless in their class.
Yeah, they obviously Schenk's car, the Porsche. I think they got that penalty quite early on as well, which put them 10 seconds back down the road. So they would have been a bit closer. But Patrick and his teammate have done a stellar job again, really just running away with it and not being challenged by anybody really. So hats off to them and hats off to Balconi. A minute and 13 seconds ahead of Chris Vickers in P2. They've done a stellar job at making sure their fuel lasted to the end of the race, which has allowed them to take a very convincing win.
Last few turns then for the Scuderia della Gleba number 267 Ferrari. You can almost coast. It's pretty much downhill as well from there. So Patrick Wants is going to have to do another full lap. He's actually just ahead. He's coming over the line now. So hopefully he's got his fuel calculated. But your winner of the GT3 category is the number 267 Scuderia della Gleba for Ferrari 488 GT3 squad. With Balconi bringing that one home for the win. Adrian in the 77 car was right there with him, didn't fancy doing another lap, so look at that. Lapped everybody right the way up the 4th. Absolutely brilliant stuff there. And in second is going to be the TAR Team Abbey Racing number 333 Aston Martin. Chris Vickers bringing that one home. Still got a few corners to go. There is Yannick Valenduk on the podium following the last few pit stops to have to conclude. But Danny just swore, what a run to get up into 6th position. There is Patrick Vance. Look at that. The number 11 Porsche has already crossed the line to conclude their race, and Patrick Vance Bless has got to go through an entire another lap to get himself home. Hopefully he's got enough fuel to do it. I've seen many a race end with running out of fuel on the last lap, but the number 11's already crossed the line, so he could actually just park it now and it wouldn't make too much of a difference. Flashing the light, he even knows it. Yeah, great to see you too there, Patrick. He's flashing at us. That's nice.
He hasn't finished the race yet, and it actually goes quite dark when you flash, so you must be careful.
But that's top spot in the GT4s is going to go the way of Pulse Motorsport. Great stuff for them. Schenk in the number 11 has already claimed second with Miroita in the number 16 Alpine claiming third. And he's actually going to be one of the last cars, if not the last car, over the line. So flash of the light, bringing it home, and there it is. He was the last car over the line. Nicely done from Patrick. Well, great race beginning to end from all our competitors. Well done to everybody that has seen the checker flag. Vast majority of our cars coming home. It's always good to see brilliant racing throughout. We've got Chris Hill and Simon Pike back with us. First of all, Simon, you started in the car. Talk us through qualifying. As we've spoken to you a few times throughout the race. You now can't blame me if either one of you wanders off the road at this point in the race. What was the mood like coming into the race, Simon?
It was good. It was all right. I had one good lap in qualifying, and it got me. That's what got me 10th. I couldn't get any better throughout. Had a pretty stable stint. Lost some time, gained a bit of time. Nice and steady. Then we just got to the end of Chris's stint there, and we just realised we weren't going to make it, so we had to do a splash and dash. But we did have a pit stop strategy, so Chris was fumbling about trying to create one in one lap.
And hit the wall.
Only just lost one place, so Ayo. He did well.
And with slightly skewed tyre pressures at the end, Chris, it must have felt like you were driving on balloons.
Well, it was a balloon driving a balloon, so yeah. It wasn't too bad. You know, we all make mistakes, and certainly I made a few whilst driving. It's ifs and ands and pots and pans. Can't remember the rest of the expression.
I like it.
Simon came up with a good one while we were talking, but I don't think that can be aired.
I was going to say, was that stream safe? But by the judge of that, no.
Calm seas don't make great sailors. That's a good one.
Fair point, well made.
Now you see what I have to put up with all the time.
Oh, it was great to see you out there. Again, you involved in some great battles, and we very much enjoyed it. It's Hungaroring next time out. Will we see the number 13 Bentley back out in force?
Yep. Yes.
I'll go with yes as well, because Simon just told me we're doing it.
Of course to do it. He won't or if you're not.
Well, he's the team leader, so I've got to do what he says.
Smart and say yes in the right places.
Not my favourite circuit, in all honesty, but I've done some great defending there in the past, so hopefully I can do the same again. If I can get in front of my friend Class Wester. We do like to have a battle there and defend. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Chris Hill, Simon Pike, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you next
very
time.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. See you again.
See you again. We've also got Chris Vickers and Mike Abernhauser in the box with us. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Chris.
Firstly, Mike, again, you started the car. It looked like you were just kind of keeping pace with the 267 Ferrari. Were you just kind of just staying behind them, or was it just not quite enough to challenge for that top spot, or was it always the plan to stay right with them and just bide your time?
Yeah, so I think you saw from the chat that fuel was going to be really tricky. It was a surprise pole for me. I think I had a really good lap, put the car on pole, and had a really good start. Made a small mistake a couple of laps in, and the Ferrari got in front. But we did know from the beginning that we were on for a two-stop. What we didn't realize is in the slipstream of the Ferrari, we were actually saving loads of fuel. So that's where we gained, probably we were 18 litres short, and we gained about 6-7 minutes in their slipstream. So there was actually no intention to try and get past them.
Nice.
It helped us.
And Chris, you brought that one home. You had the unenviable task of doing the lion's share of the fuel saving. How much of a challenge was it to just stick to the time you had to do rather than push on and see what you were capable of?
I think I surprised myself with the amount of fuel I managed to save, but it just wasn't enough. So we made the call to switch back to map 1, quick as you can, and we'll just splash and dash, because there was enough of a gap behind that we wouldn't lose too much position-wise. Maybe if I say maybe, P2 I think was the best we could get, as the Ferrari is just so economical as we couldn't challenge that.
And P2, you managed. The gap between yourself and your chasers looked very close at one point. Were you worried at all you were going to come under pressure, or were you confident you could hang on to it by then?
We were fairly confident that they needed to pit again. So, I mean, I wanted to stay in front of them just in case. We weren't correct, but I think they pitted with a couple of laps left.
They did.
So yeah, we were sorted as long as I didn't bin it.
Which indeed you didn't. So Hungaroring next time, is that a good track for you? Are you looking forward to that one?
I like that track.
Yeah,
What about you,
likewise. Likewise, Hungaro is a good track. It's really difficult to overtake. So I think qualifying will be important. And yeah, I don't know yet what the BOP brings for us. I think we were a bit surprised to see we only had 109 litres.
Yeah, I hope it's not a 60-litre tank at Hungaroring.
Yeah. So yeah, that's we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so far this 2.4 series has been really good for us. So thanks to all the organisers, the stewards, you guys as commentators, it's been really fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant streams as ever.
Great stuff. We're very much glad you enjoy it. We hope everybody watching along is enjoying it as much as we are. Thank you very much for your time, Mike Abenhauser and Chris Vickers.
Cheers,
Thank
Chris.
you. Cheers.
Well, no one else has made themselves available to have a chat, which is absolutely fine. It's not mandatory, but it is always nice to have a chat to our drivers if they behave themselves and don't swear too much when the race is done. But that is going to be it for tonight. That was 2.4 hours of Barcelona, and it just absolutely flew by. What a great, great race it has been. Thank you very much to Steve Proudly for pointing the cameras for us and controlling the stream. A great pleasure, as always, working with you, good sir. Thank you very much, Dave Hedges and Dominic Gieser, for joining me in the box and trying to get a word in edgeways. It's always a very difficult task, but you managed it well.
Cheers, Chris. Good night, everybody.
We will see you next time out for the grand final, which is indeed in Hungary. We really hope that we see you lovely people watching either live or post-event join us for the final round. Until then, thank you very much and good night!